Damn it, I
All
started
right.
it early. Fuck.
And we are live. The last word with Lord Cognito and Ebontis and Ty Guy Travis with that special guest time of Friday morning. First, gentlemen, how are we doing? Let's start with Ebontis.
Been very busy playing a lot of games, working through Dark Souls and Nobody Saves the World. About 2/3 through both of those, so actually really enjoying those. Crazy week of news. Trying not to take too long in the intro. Travis, go.
Hi, I'm McClunky. That's all.
That's all.
Yeah, McClunky. Read my review of Dying Light 2. McClunky. Go.
Yeah, please
Nice.
actually read that before you jump on some
Yeah,
weird
please
drink.
check that out. Check it out. Neil James Swap, what's going on? Yup, you already know me, Cognito. So much news to talk about, and we got to just get into it. But before we get into all of that, we have some royalty here.
Indeed.
Today. We have to introduce her.
Yes.
All right.
Royalty. That was a
Welcome.
smooth intro.
Oh, hold
like,
on.
how many
Hold-
times have you done that one?
That's a short one, but hold on
That's
just
the show.
one
You gotta
second.
get the real one now.
Yeah. Welcome to The Last Word, episode number 183. Just when you think gaming news was done, next week says Hold My Beer. One of the biggest indies in the world is now under the Sony umbrella, and each nugget of information that comes out about this deal is more unique than it seems to be. We got teased with exotics, zombie parkour is back in the mainstream, and we have one heck of a thick boy twab, to say the least. Thank you, Cog.
Gotta give for emphasis.
With such an
Gotta
epic
show off those tree trunks.
with such an epic piece of news, how could we have a chat around the campfire without a truly epic guest? It is fitting that Bungie is now in the Sony family because this is where this man's gaming journey started at age 6 with a little game that some of us may know called Rayman. A variety of games were mixed in the middle, but Xbox 360 and Halo is where gaming became something more than just a hobby, what some of us call an addiction. Competition runs deep in this gentleman, and proof of that is shown when he was #1 in 1v1 Halo Wars.
Oh, no. I did not think you're going to read all of that out. Like, this, you're hyping me up way
This is
too
your
much
life.
now.
No, we gotta
Shut
do
up,
this.
Marco, this is your life.
But did it stop there? No. He had a taste for content
Oh
creation
my
and gaming his life. So he strapped his YouTube channel to the back of the division and rose to the top in very short order. Always critical when needed, but fair in his judgments. Hilarious when trying new content, but also sometimes crying through that laughter. And while the division hasn't fared that well, he has traded breaking off armor parts to matching weapon colors in Destiny 2. So let's welcome
I feel like I'm about to fight someone here. Like, I'm just being hyped up in the ring.
So let's welcome one of the few people to actually beat both the Division raid and a Destiny raid. Has a YouTube channel with over 450,000 YouTube subscribers and hailing from the country with the tallest men in the world, the one, the only, MarcoStyle, and I'm going to try and do this, Hody Morgan.
What was that?
I was trying to say, I was trying to say good
Are you
morning.
trying to say good
He's-
morning?
Good morning.
He's from Europe.
I'm from
It's
Texas.
Hold American.
That's probably a lot
you gotta
That's, you gotta get the in there, the goeiemorgen.
Hody Morgan.
get the
Okay, we got it.
I tried and it sucked. So anyway, welcome to our wonderful campfire. How you doing this morning or afternoon for you?
There was so much with that intro, but the thing that struck me most is that you called Bungie an indie dev studio, right?
Not
Did I catch
anymore.
that right?
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Not anymore, not anymore. But yeah, I had to think about that joke where every time Blizzard would fuck something up, people on Reddit would always say, "Oh, it's just a small indie company or whatever." It's kind of the same for Destiny, but yeah, you can't say it anymore now.
Oh,
But yeah, I'm doing great, I guess. A little bit tired, but I guess we all are here. All a little lack of sleep.
A little bit here
No, we
and there.
appreciate you, man. We appreciate
Especially
you.
the guy underneath me. If I see that right on the stream.
You have a guy
Yeah.
underneath you. You gotta turn
Yeah.
your camera on, bro.
Pause. Anyway, Travis loose today. Well, yeah, man. Look, let's get right into it, man. For me, you know, I know he kind of touched on your gaming history. And I usually go there first, but I'm gonna pivot because I have come to know you as the Division guy, right? When I'm always a hardcore Destiny guy, and me and Ebontis used to have these discussions during the Division 2 and Anthem launches as competitors to Destiny, right? So I was the one that said, yo, Division's the one you got to watch. You know, long tail, they're doing raids. You know, at the time, that was my thinking, Travis, fix your face. So at the end of the day, right, I was just like, yo, that's the one long term. And I would religiously go to MarcoStyle channel. So to see your journey as a content creator, I have to ask this. Like, it's for me, it would be the equivalent of Dado then leaving and going hardcore to another game. So I just want to get with the Division love first, and then the actual thing that broke you to shift to Destiny.
Yeah, I guess. So it's a pretty long story, but I guess I'll just give you the very short version of it. Is that
Appreciate it.
At some point, even before Division came out, I knew that I wanted to do something with YouTube, and Division just seemed like a very interesting game to me. Because at the time I was very much interested in games like Grand Theft Auto. And from that very first trailer, it kind of looked like a sort of a Grand Theft Auto. Not really, but it had some of those elements. And I was like, okay, you know what? Let's just see if I can find out some news on this game. So I started uploading those type of videos. And then two things happened. I got bigger as the game launched, and I actually found myself playing a game that I really enjoyed. So it was like somewhat a perfect match. But I mean, Division 1 at launch was far from perfect. It had so many flaws, and over the years, like I've tried so much to kind of push the game in the right direction, as you would expect a Dado of Destiny to do.
Yes.
Like I'm sure Dado has posted so many videos of where he would like to see, Bungie take Destiny next. And in some cases they might have listened, and in some other cases they might have not. Right? And that's, I guess I did the same with the Division there. And I don't know, at some point Division 2 came out. It was very obvious they weren't working on Division 1 anymore.
Right.
And with Division 2, they changed so much in a direction of what like a lot of people didn't want from the game. And as I was playing that, I just felt like I wasn't enjoying myself. Now, this might also be because I just grew out of it a little bit. Like I know it's not a lot of hours to a lot of people, because I know some people play crazy amount of hours video games.
Yes.
But I mean, I played like 2,000 to 3,000 hours of the Division 1.
That's no joke.
Wow.
And that's over the course of like 3 years. So it's not it's not that crazy. It's not that much. It's not an insane amount. But
No,
I
it
feel
is.
like it might have been.
That's a lot. I mean, because
You should feel bad. That's a lot.
I've got 2,500
Why you
hours
shame
in.
him for that?
Yeah,
I mean, did you play the Division? I played the Division 1. That game had like
It's a
40
lot, but
hours
also,
of content. So if he played 2,000 hours, he played that content a lot.
Well, no. Most of the content came from the Dark Zone and actually playing PvP, of course. That's I could never play those missions for like even 1,000 hours. But I know that like if it's like your full-time thing, then even that can be seen as not a lot of hours, right? So I know it's not that much, but I think I just grew out of it. And then they changed up the formula so much in Division 2, while also not having like a polished game whatsoever.
Sounds like another game I know, another sequel.
Yes, Destiny 2.
Yeah, a little bit.
And it was just such a gut punch that I just didn't enjoy the game. So at some point I was like, okay, well, I'm obviously making good money with this, so I can keep doing this, kind of like Dado. I feel like Dado is also a bit burned out on Destiny. He's more than past that point. I don't want to speak for him or anything, but
you can tell,
I feel like he's expressed that in his videos. And so I kind of was at the point where he was, and maybe a bit further, because I just maybe wasn't feeling the game as much anymore. And so I just said, okay, well, I can either, milk this out, or I can think about this super long term and see what actually would make me happy, and see if I can challenge myself to do something new. Right. So then I made a whole bunch of different videos, some of them just completely random. I don't even remember right now. I'd have to look back at what I released at the time. Rainbow Six Siege, for example, did like a whole bunch of other stuff, some Splitgate. Then I made a Destiny video as well, and at first I didn't really enjoy Destiny because it seemed like just another looter shooter. I mean, obviously the game feels good to play, but at the core it was just another looter shooter with not much substance to it. Even making a build in that game is so much less.
Yeah, you came from gear sets. You came from that. That's why I used to watch for. Continue, sorry.
Yeah, so like if you compare that to the Division, if you made a good build, it was like night and day of a difference.
Respect.
Destiny, you get like a little bit of range, you get like a couple shoulder cooldowns, like wow, crazy, right? Like it wasn't like that appealing. Like you can pop your super like 2 minutes earlier. Wow, that's so that wasn't really that special to me.
So what was the
and
moment?
so in my first Destiny video, I actually said, yeah, I can see why people enjoy it. It feels smooth, but I don't think I'm going to be playing this long term either, because I just be shifting the issue, right? Playing one looter shooter and I'm playing another. But then,
what happened?
Like some streamers, especially Glad and like Fami from Redeem, they actually invited me to do a couple raids with them, and I think that was because I actually helped Glad out with a raid in Division 2. Because I think he had a lot of trouble clearing that raid.
Yeah, everybody.
The first raid of the Division 2. And then I think we jumped in a couple hours to help him before I really had to go, because I think it was the night after I got Worlds First, and I'd been up all night, and like I had to do some stuff already.
Flex.
Well,
that flex. You saw that
Well,
Worlds
I got carried. I definitely got carried. I definitely got carried. Thank you, solid FPS.
Show us the belt and show us the man underneath.
There was a reward for it, but I was actually so fed up with Destiny 2 or Division 2 at the time that I didn't email them to collect the reward, because I didn't care that much. So I just
that's like such a
there
rare
was a reward
thing,
for it.
though.
I just never claimed it, because I was just there for the ride, get carried for the title and then just dip.
Oh, you was done.
Yeah, I was like, I think that was I think the speed run for that raid, apart with aside with the tutorials on how to beat each encounter, were pretty much the last Division videos I uploaded. Actually, now I look at my channel, there was one more that came like a little bit later, but it's pretty much the last videos that I uploaded, because I was so done with the game at the time.
Got you.
Somebody wanted me to ask you, is Sleepy still alive?
Yeah, Sleepy's still asking.
Yeah. I just talked to him today.
Oh, nice. There you go.
We're trying to set up a decent raid squad for day one of Witch Queen, because we do want to get back into raiding. Like, I know I haven't played a very long time, and but Sleepy's still been active here and there, and we're setting stuff up.
Nice.
And on D Flawless's raid team for the same
well, that'll be entertaining.
Nice. Salute. I love D Flawless. Continue.
And so after I got invited by Glad, and friends, by the way, I got pulled into a couple raids, most notably the last Wish raid.
Nice.
And that is, and he made us like do it blind, figure everything out ourselves. I sat there for like the whole 12, 13 hours. Of course, they helped us a bit during the DPS phases, because we didn't, like they let us fail a good amount of times, like more than you would let somebody, like more than if you were to just carry or take someone through it. But then when he realized that we got it fully figured out, but we just didn't have the guns, then they would just like carry us through like a solid 2 phase or whatever, right? Nice. So, and that was like such a cool experience. Like the raids in Destiny, they're so good, especially Last Wish. Yeah. And I guess that is what got me to fall in love with Destiny 2. And then ever since then, my only goal with Destiny has just been to blindly play every raid and then play every raid and dungeon that comes out. Like that's the reason I still come back to Witch Queen right now as well. Like I want to play the raid, I want to do it day one, because that's an experience you can't really get in any other game ever, pretty much. Right?
Can you repeat that statement as a former Division fan? Can you repeat that last sentence? Because a lot of people don't realize that about raids.
He wants to clip this and send it to all of his Division hardcore
the raids
buddies.
in Destiny. You can't find that anywhere else in any other video game. And it's just such a unique experience, especially the day one, right? Like it's all different. And that's why I stuck with Destiny 2. So even to this day, I don't really care about min-maxing builds in Destiny 2. I don't really care about all that. I'm just going to Destiny for these experiences. And somehow I've actually managed to make enough content with that to survive on YouTube for another two years and just take it in a whole other direction.
Nice.
No doubt. Salute, man. I just wanted to, I know I went off a little bit. Forgive me, but I had to ask him that. It's my limited time. So I had to ask him that. And, because again, he's one of the top Division content creators. I would go to his content all the time. And it was an interesting thing to me to see that. And I was just like, wow, I've never seen anything like that before. Like the person who is the connoisseur of one game and goes there. And I guess the final thing, and then I'll open it up to the last two I know I'm going along, was that is there anything Division can do to bring you back? Because I know they have a later like roadmap potential content. And the other thing was,
Division 3.
I know a lot of people in Division community, the vibe I get, they were frustrated that they didn't listen. You know what I'm saying? So I believe it was Mass. I forgot what the name of the
No,
group
they
is.
listened. I think
listen?
to say that
Okay.
the developers didn't listen is very much unfair. There's countless of times where I like in-depth DMs with developers, and they would actually take some of my changes. I was flown over to their studio for like a program where I would play like unreleased builds for like a week straight and like sit at a round table with like to say that they didn't listen is just not true.
Okay.
It's just that I honestly don't know. There's just some things I guess that they didn't agree with, or some things that couldn't be pushed for certain builds, and some things that weren't high priority enough. And to be fair, a lot of those things might have not been that high priority to the overall player base. It's just that for players like me, those things were pretty important. So it's like they definitely tried to listen. I don't want to say any like bad things there, because that would just be not true, right? Like,
no, that's fair. That's fair. And those are my Division questions.
I mean, I guess it's also a bit me. Like at some point, I just got fed up with the game, and I just had enough of it. Just like I had enough of Destiny about 7 months ago, and then took a huge break from Destiny, and then now I'm trying other stuff on my YouTube again.
Yeah.
So it's like it's just kind of just figuring out whatever I feel like. I guess I know it's very risky to do and a very bad strategy on YouTube. But I'd rather do that and then, have this risky thing than just do the same thing over and over and over again until like I can't stand it anymore. Because if I can't enjoy making my own videos, then I feel like it's going to be hard for other people to enjoy them as well. I know that's like objectively not true, because people do like the same type of videos over and over again. But as a creator, it's just not something that I can do and still feel happy about. Like at the end of the day, I wanted to do YouTube because I thought making videos was really cool, and like you have the freedom to do all these things and be creative. But if you're then gonna put yourself into this one box, this one corner, and never do anything creative because you're too afraid it will fail, then like what was the point of getting into YouTube anyway in the first place? Then I might as well just get like a normal job, right? Like
absolutely,
exactly, because then you're just doing the same thing again and again as well. So it's like
respect,
some things work, some things don't. That's it. And then you'll figure it out along the way, hopefully.
No, it's like I was going to say big respect for taking the chance to be risky with your content, to switch from a game that, you have a lot of a following for and switch over, and you've got a big enough audience you can kind of make a shift. And while you may not carry all of them, you're kind of in the same genre and be like, hey, you guys should try this. And, those videos have done fairly well. The one thing I wanted to ask you is, time limited, I could ask you a whole lot more, so it's like we're trying to condense this intro. But with regards to Destiny, like when you come from Division, you've seen Division 1 have some good, Division 2 have some bad, some good, some bad. Like I remember in Division 1 there was like a currency, and then all of a sudden the streamers had a bunch of it, and they like made it really hard for everybody. Certain things that you've watched Division, both the first one and the sequel do. Is there anything with your experience in Destiny, and believe me, we've actually talked about the new player experience because I watched one of your videos on those. We all know that's bad. But are there things that you see in Destiny where if they do this thing, this could be bad? Is there anything major that you see, or is there a worry that you have with regards to Destiny kind of lingering in the back of your mind?
I'm going to be honest. I feel like I'm just not the right person to talk about that, because I honestly don't play the game enough or have enough like super in-depth knowledge about all the game mechanics to really make an educated guess there. Like I'd just be talking out of my ass. Back in the Division, I really like knew the game so well inside out. With Destiny, that's just not the case because I haven't cared to the same extent. So like
you're playing Destiny the right way, friend.
Yeah, I'm playing Destiny to have fun and then to make some content on it, right? You
probably enjoy Destiny more than a lot of Destiny mains, because kind of the farther you get into it, the Teddies of the world. Teddy told me this week, I was playing with him, and he was just like, I found out that I'm a lot happier when I only play Destiny as little as possible just to get all the triumphs done and then log off immediately. And I was just like, that's so sad, dude. You used to love this game, and now that's so.
Well, that was the situation I was in with the Division. I feel like something like that is just very hard to avoid if you're forced to do it every single day.
Yeah, there's no way developers can keep up with that
exactly.
lifestyle.
So like that is not even like a Division or a Destiny issue. That's just like playing games 10 hours a day every day, and then
Agreed.
also your income being like weighted on your performance and how much you actually push it, right? Like there's no way that's gonna keep entertaining for anyone ever. Like that's why I have the biggest respect for people that grind out these videos like every like week after week after week after week. It may seem like you could call that, oh, that's just not that creative, or that's just a bit lazy, but in fact it's the other thing. It's like the opposite of lazy. Like these people are really pushing themselves to make sure that these like that is so it's like it's
mad
very
respect, but that life is brutal. I can't even imagine it. There are some people who legitimately enjoy that lifestyle, like Cog's friend DJ Oros. That guy's a zealot, but they're few and far between. The
my guy.
full psychopaths.
I don't know if they necessarily like enjoy it. They're probably just like they're very dedicated, is what you probably say.
Oh no, you haven't met this guy, man. He is on a next level. He's never said a bad word about Bungie. I think Pete Parsons could walk into this dude's bedroom every morning and wake him up by stomping on his nutsack, and he would thank Pete for the honor and pay him 2,000 and pay him 2,000 silver. That guy is absurd. Absurd.
Okay. Well, Travis, you got I was gonna say real quick, with your experience in Division and then coming over to Destiny, and you've got a nice variety of games that it seems like you've played. If you could bring one thing from another game, doesn't have to be Division, but that's where most of your experience is, what would you like to see in Division? Like one or two top ones that you'd love to see in Division. Like
loadouts, for example, would be very good. Something like that. It's just some quality of life features. Would I be able to pick up bounties from the map and don't have to travel to the tower like that sort of stuff? Like, why can't I do that? Like, just very basic things.
They took that away.
Yeah, they took it. I don't know. They took like all that. Why can't you like select stuff from them? Why do they have to go through like 100 different menus just to get somewhere? Like
to drill down. Yeah,
like all that stuff like that. Like I played Destiny. I was like, what is this shit? Like, what?
I remember those early videos. That's what you were saying. I remember you were like, I don't think I'm gonna stay with this long, man.
Yeah, like it just doesn't make any sense. The only redeeming factor is that the gameplay is so good and the raids are so exceptional, and then you can look past those things. But like the menus and the quality of life features, Division did that 100 times better.
The only
thing more annoying than Division mains coming and playing Destiny and like asking where all the content is and all the features are people who come from WoW. And yes, I am talking to you, Ebontis. They're the most annoying because they're like, well, actually, World of Warcraft was the progenitor for all of these things.
Get him on focus.
Hey,
this gonna go left between y'all two. We gotta stay focused. It's a big show. We got a lot to talk about.
So, Travis,
all right, that'll count as my question.
Okay.
Let's move on.
Okay,
let's do the news.
All right. We would sit here and ask you questions for half the show, and this could go on for a while. But we have so much stuff to cover. First thing that I do want to make sure we absolutely talk about, we can't dwell a lot on, but a lot of things keep kind of trickling out about this, and that is the fact that Sony bought Bungie. They are now part of Sony Entertainment Interactive, even though I feel like it's part of Sony Pictures Interactive, but that's a whole different piece we'll get to in a second. It was for $3.6 billion. We've actually learned that $1.2 billion of this was for employee retention, and we also know that Sony put out their couple announcements from Jim Ryan and Herman Holst, but also we had Pete Parsons and the Destiny gentleman, both Justin Truman and Joe Blackburn, put out their post with regards to Division 2 or Destiny 2. Sorry, that's the part of our guest.
From the brain.
Yep. Destiny 2 is going to stay multi-platform through Final Shape. They've said that future releases aren't going to, be published on any platform they want to, and you can, read some nuance into that one. But this is probably one of the biggest pieces of news, at least in our little realm. Yesterday was bigger because Activision is just massive, and that's even being looked to by the FTC. But I got to go Marco first, and then we got to get the other two. Where are you guys, without going into a full-on doctoral dissertation on this thing, with regards to Sony and Bungie? Where are we at? Marco first. Does this news mean a lot to you? Is this exciting, scary? Where are you at?
I'm pretty neutral on this. I think a lot of people blow out of proportion what this is going to do for the franchise. Like, obviously what they have for Witch Queen is already completely locked in, and I wouldn't be I don't think there's going to be much changes for the next DLC even to come. The one thing that's sort of back in my mind is that maybe they'll have access to more resources now, so maybe we'll get a bigger DLC 2 years later down the line, but then also I mean, it's not like they have a lot of money now, but it's not like they're going to have a lot more talented developers instantly as a result. So I don't think it's going to be the same as when they had Activision. I just don't. I don't really know. I feel like not much is going to change. It's not really a bad or a good thing, and I just generally don't really care too much about it. So I'll leave this for one of you two to dive into.
All right, I'm gonna go Cog.
Cog.
Gotta go Cog. Yep.
Okay. Look, initial feeling a little nervous as Xbox preferred main of Destiny. So, it brought me back initially when I first read the news across my timeline because I was working. It brought me back to those dark days of Hawkmoon exclusive and Jade Rabbit and Borealis and maps and like it just took. And I'm like, and then I read it and I'm like, wait a minute, they are really stressing multi-platform. We control our own destiny. Future platforms, no platform exclusives. So when I started to see that, and then we had Hogue on Defining Duke, and he really broke down the language of the contract. And what Bungie has done here is really unprecedented for as far as negotiating independence and what they can do. They had literally, unlike any other PlayStation studio, with the way things are done, even on a shareholder level. That was the thing that's because I pushed back at Hogue. I'm like, wait a minute. Sony that I know is used to exclusives and used to having that hook to say, yo, you're gonna, this is, and that is not the case. And that's the part that's interesting. So I'll wrap up in saying that what I got out of it is that there's two parts here. Sony is looking to beef up their live services and multiplayer deficiencies, and will have Bungie help out with the other studios with that. And where Bungie, you got to be honest, we already talked about Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy being almost the Kevin Feige of the situation, right? Yep. They look at Destiny movies, TV, they looking at that Halo Infinite thing like Paramount. They want this thing to go somewhere crazy. So at the end of the day, we have to be honest, it is a good marriage in the sense that Sony can provide that. So he could be like, yo, you saw that No Way Home with Tom Holland? Like we can do these kind of things. So it's early. I think I agree with Marco. Short term, nothing really initially is going to change. But long term, I do think they have stability and some resources that can help them. So surprisingly, it's a good fit. I know Travis is going to disagree, but I now that I've taken a step back, I think it's a good fit long term, and as long
Travis,
as it changes.
I've seen your face the whole time, so
he's
hit us with it.
Tell us about evil. Tell us about evil.
All right, I'm going to do a mini dissertation because I could talk about this the entire episode.
This could be a whole show. I know.
The more I think about it, the more I'm convinced that this is the worst thing that's ever happened to Bungie, and I really mean, like, I'm devastated by this news, and I really am. I'm heartbroken. This whole week I've been just
Please elaborate.
Really bummed about it. So like I'm one of those guys who actually thinks that some consolidation in the industry isn't that bad. Like I wasn't bothered by the Activision consolidation, even though it's a bigger company, and because I see the process of consolidation as being a natural part of the games industry. Companies grow and then they get big and bloated. And then when they start doing poorly, like Activision was, they were getting attacked by the California government at the top and they were getting attacked in the bottom by their own employees. And, Blizzard hasn't come out with a game since 2016. They were just getting squeezed, right? And you can see their stock going down. And the fail state for that a company like that is that you get acquired. It's like, it's that's the way our system works. It's you get acquired and then you sort of get brought under somebody else and that's how you get out, right? But I think that it's a travesty that a company like Bungie would get acquired because they're not that type of company. They're an up and comer. They're what you call like a challenger, right? They're this new, to me, they were the chosen ones. They've always been the chosen ones. And I wanted to see them grow up to replace a Bethesda type company, these robust independent companies that do third party stuff and control their own destiny. And no pun intended. Yeah. But, and I honestly think that's what they've been telling us for years that they were going to do. That's been all their messaging is they want to do it. They didn't work out with Microsoft. They got in a really bad deal with Activision. They've been saying that they want to do this. And their messaging on the fact that they're going to be independent still from Sony is so disingenuous. It's impossible. Like their contract for sure is set up to do that. But if you actually look at what's happening, Sony is getting 100% of their stock, and it'll be fine in the short term, but in the long term, Sony's going to be making all the decisions, and the board members are going to steadily be replaced with people with Sony's interests.
It's not
Long
true.
term, it is true. It is true. And this is actually something Hogan and I have talked about.
I had Hogan on our show. It's literally not
I know.
true. They cannot replace Bungie's shareholders. They cannot. It's literally
I'm just saying. I'm not saying they're going to do it like a coup. I'm just saying naturally it's going to happen, because when Sony controls your interests, people leave, and then piece by piece your culture changes, and that's going to happen regardless of what they're saying. I mean, for the next 5 years, sure, it'll be fine. And I honestly think Destiny's probably not a game that will get that affected. So if you only care about Destiny from Bungie, you'll probably be fine. But I care about Bungie as a company. I've been invested in Bungie for a long time, and I've seen them as like this up and comer challenger, and now they're not going to be that anymore. Now they're getting absorbed by, and by the way, it's not PlayStation that bought them. It's Sony Interactive Entertainment, and that means that they gave up this vision they had and this position I think they had as an up and comer independent that could be this challenger to challenge some of the big companies. They gave it up. So for what? So they could drop a hot single on Sony Music. You know what I mean? So they can add movies and television. Like, that's not really what Bungie's been about. They are game makers, and they make damn good games. I have one question
to that, and I'll keep it very short as well. Is there a reason that you're so invested into Bungie and you want to push this idealism in this industry for them so much? Like, where is this coming from? Because you're saying it's not affecting Destiny 2 as much, or will not as much.
Yeah.
So like, what is the other motive for you to be so invested in Bungie?
I mean, I've been playing Bungie games long before Destiny, and I'm sure I'll play them long after. And for me, they are this tremendously talented company who has always been defined by their independence, and they're willing to try new things, and they've been rebels. And so I just don't think this relationship with Sony is going to work the way either party thinks about it. Think about it. Like, but it's just it's such a weird arrangement, and I get that they probably set it up in a way that's going to work in the immediate future, but in the long term, it's if them acting like, oh, nothing's going to change, our culture's not going to change. It's bullshit. There's no way you get acquired by a large company with interests that are completely different than yours on the grand scheme of things, and that things don't change over time. That's just not going to happen. And so I think they're messaging that if I were messaging it from Bungie, I would have been, I think, a little bit more transparent and saying, look, our intention is for nothing to change, but of course it'll change stuff, and then talk a little bit about that. But they just acted like the acquisition didn't happen. Like PlayStation just gets to put their logo on their games, and that's it. And that's just not true. It's not true at all. And that's what Hogan and I were talking about, is just like the fact that this sort of agreement long term is there's no way it won't change things.
That's where me and you meet. That's where me and you meet.
And so to answer your question, Marco, I think it's really important to have these challengers in any industry. It happens in the tech industry too, which I'm also involved with, is that you've got the sales forces, but then you've also got these companies that are challenging them and up and coming. And the worst thing that could happen to any industry is for those challengers to get gobbled up before they actually properly become developed. And Bungie, to me, is like the best challenger, because they've always done things so much better and punched above their weight and been that company. And now that's not going to happen. And then
well, that's partly true. Like, Bungie has punched above their weight and has made some great games in the past. Like, it is also worth noting that many of the original Bungie developers that worked on like Halo Combat Evolved and Halo 2, they don't necessarily still work at Bungie like 15 years, 20 years later.
100%. But Bungie has done a great job of curating, I think, developers that are sort of more experimental and like willing to try new things. And I think that's part of their culture. And I think PlayStation benefits a lot from this. For me, like, I have no like question why this happened. Because to Ebontis's point, when he was talking about the contract, 1.2 billion or something like that of the acquisition is going toward retaining employees. And I think that's what they want. To me, this is an acqui-hire. They're acqui-hiring the company. They're not acquiring it. They want to keep the people. And that makes sense to me, but I don't think it's going to benefit Bungie. I think it's going to benefit PlayStation, because all they have to do is stay at PlayStation or Sony to keep that benefit, right? And I think Sony's going to brain drain Bungie and add people to all these other ambitious live service projects that they want to work on, and it's going to make Bungie a less potent company. Bungie's like my favorite developer ever. Like, I have friends at Bungie. I've been to their headquarters like 100 times. I love this publisher or them as a developer, and I love the fact that they were starting to be a publisher and starting to get into it, and it just feels like their journey got cut off way before it should. And of course I'm disappointed at that. Like they're now part of a big corporation that's super well established, and that's way less exciting, and it changes their role in the industry. And I'm heartbroken. So I don't blame people at all for feeling differently. I don't think that Bungie's like an asshole. I don't think that Sony is evil, any of that stuff. I'm just personally disappointed that this is the path. This is what happened, and that it happened at this stage in their development. And I really want there to be challengers. And I'm looking forward to the people who, you know, say no to the 1.2 billion, quit and start their own company that's sort of like a Bungie 2.0. I think it will. I think it will. It always happens. It always happens because, and I think that's an important part of the industry too, is that when people leave and they start their own thing, I think that'll happen. There'll be former Bungie employees, just like you always hear former EA employees, former Mass Effect devs start their own company. Like that sort of stuff happens all the time.
Yeah, but then once they get handed like a 1.2 billion back for themselves, I think they're also gonna.
And it is a company called Tencent that people's taking bags from that they know they shouldn't be taking.
Yeah, but anyway. you think that individual people are getting any significant amount of that 1.2 billion right away? It's like a monthly stipend. You know what I mean? When you look at it and. You know what I mean? Like
it's probably set up as like a long-term
yearly bonus. That's
what
not like
I
enough
think
to keep
is that
people
now
on.
that Sony has acquired Bungie, it is in Sony's best interest that Bungie keeps making the best possible games, because that means their stock will go up. So that means that like whatever power they have, I like, and whatever actions they can take or are willing to take, I don't think it's ever meant to put Destiny or Bungie or any of the developing games in a worse light than they would have thought without them.
I hope that's not what I sound like I'm saying. I don't mean that at all. I actually think that a lot of good things are going to come of this, obviously, for Bungie. I just think that they're probably not solely focused on games. I mean, that's why they sold to Sony Interactive. They're going to be focusing on movies and TV shows and frankly stuff I don't care about. Because the story of Destiny has been really bad. And I have zero confidence in Sony's ability to make a good movie just based on their history recently.
So from what I know, the storytelling is pretty bad, but you can't really say that that's like not something that's not important, because like on one side we have Mr. Bife is here, over here with a million YouTube subs.
It's super important, but like we've talked about this on The Last Word before about the story thing, and I think the problem is that you can't really make, I don't think, TVs and movies if your base story isn't good, because then there's a cognitive dissonance between the game and your other content, and it's hard to manage a franchise that way. So like if Destiny was a game that was like known for having a great story and everybody was like, oh yeah, you play Destiny for the story, and then they made a movie or TV show, that would make sense. But they're kind of like trying to do it the opposite way, where they're trying to make the story in Destiny good by telling it through other mediums and then keeping it sort of.
How do you think something like that would look like? Because,
go ahead. Go ahead,
Marco. Like I would definitely not be interested in like a movie with like a Zavala as the main character, because I just don't care, right? But
I like Lance Reddick though. That would be. I would watch it.
I mean, sure, but I just don't. I'm just not too interested in the character that he plays, right? Like another story that's currently developing in Destiny 2. But do you think like this whole universe that they've built up over the years could not make for decent source on other media?
That's kind of what I wanted to break into.
Yeah, I just don't think it will. I just don't think it will be good. Yeah.
I was like, and that's kind of the thing. You see people like Mylan and Bife who have made these things. Bife is working on his Dynasty project off to the side. Book of Sorrows. There's a lot of cool stories in this world. And if they take some of them, or it's the Battle on Six Fronts, you could do like a mini animated show. There's a lot of stories that I think they could do. I think a big motion picture at a theater box office, you would have to build up an audience to that. Like you would have to have either Destiny come out with like a Destiny 3, if that's even like or whatever comes after the Light and Dark saga, animated shows to really, you'd have to build some foundation, I think, before you get into a motion picture from Sony, because that's a big investment and box office is not cheap. And especially if you're going to do Destiny, there's going to be a lot of CG. This is not going to be a cheap film, but that is something I think they do have the foundation and the stories to tell, because the things that they've done with their writers, and when you sit there and you have a 4-hour video from Bife for the history of this thing, there's a lot in this world that they can do, and this is not the only IP that they're working on. So for me, like, I know you're very down on this per se of what it could do to the world of Bungie, what their up and coming could do. But for me on the other side is we've seen Bungie stumble. Bungie is not perfect. We've seen them stumble plenty. And this is where, for me, I see yes, things can happen in the future. I totally get that. You could see like the culture change. I've never seen the statements, and then from what you said, Cognito, about the contract being so unique, I've never seen a deal come out and be like, they're going to be independent. They still have control over their IP.
Bullet point.
Like that's
the first
like the
bullet point.
most important thing. I'm like, all these acquisitions we've seen, I've never seen it like that. And yes, things can change. They say future games will be, multi-platform. Do we know if the future IP 4 or 5 years from now is going to be on Xbox? No, we don't know that, and things could change. But all I'm saying is Bungie is at a point where they do want to expand. Mark Noseworthy and Luke Smith are above the Destiny game at this point because they're trying to do more. Sony, as you said, Cog, I think is one of the perfect partners that they could do because they do have a pictures division. If Sony is in control of their IP, people question some of Luke Smith's decisions, so if there's a little balance in there, we'll have to see. But to me, I see this as Sony possibly helping support Bungie in what they're trying to do, and Bungie support Sony in what they're trying to do. To me, I see it as a general mutual beneficial partnership. And then now if Sony wants to do a live service game, they can talk to this company that's been through a whole lot of mistakes. They're still not perfect at it, by the way, because we've seen transmog and other things. But if they want to do a live service game, I don't imagine they're going to be all looter shooters, but they talked about Gran Turismo 7. They're like, we're going to be adding content in the future. Is this going to be like their live? They said 10 live service. They're not all live like looter shooters. This is going to be supporting games on a continuous basis. And I think seeing how Bungie is the only one who's survived, we've watched Division, we've watched Anthem fall. Division had more of a life, but like the employer retention seems like unreal, as that's 1/3 of the deal. You've got the independence and the creative independence, and also their choice to
For now.
again. But like these are the things I can only worry so much. It is a publisher. It could be 5 years away when these changes happen. And yes, Bungie is in an up and coming state, but also they need help. Sometimes they do need help. And it's like for them to
we've
truly
complained about resources for so long,
Yeah.
and Gambit and things been neglected for so
Right.
long as this
Yeah.
independent darling company that can't sustain the damn. They took us
Yeah.
2-3 years to
How
get
long does it take to get a
Sorry,
PDP?
I jumped in your
Okay,
thing.
but
there's other ways to do it, Cock, and they've raised money in the past.
They've
You don't have to
again,
sell
proven
your
like-
company.
they've proven
me-
they cannot. Hold on, I'll let you speak. They've proven they cannot sustain this game in a way that the player base's appetite could be satiated. It's been proven. We've sat there and talked about trials for like 4 or 5 episodes, and all these things. Gambit hasn't even been touched. It's literally, the evidence is in front of us that they cannot do it long term. Now, to your point, though, I do agree with you. What happens in the future, we don't know. We don't. This could go left. I'm with you there. This
It's
could
going
go
to
left.
go left.
Right.
I mean,
and here,
Yeah, but
here's
no,
if you
you
care about
don't know
independent
that.
Bungie,
That's
it's
the
gonna
thing
go
is
left.
you don't
It-
know that, and none
we
of us
don't know.
do. And I think
Yeah,
that's the point. Is you can be worried about something in the future, but the fact that Bungie is a developer, I think that is now they have some security. If they want to make a leap with this, they put a big bet into this new IP. We know it's being worked on, and they put a new bet. And as an independent publisher, if all of a sudden this new IP tanks, we've seen Hyperscape, we've seen certain games do well, certain games tank. Depending on something like them, it's going to be a bigger risk. And if that risk happens, what does that do to our franchise that does make them money? Does that push more into Eververse? Does that do things in a bad way? And then potentially if Sony's out there as at least a backbone to them, they have some support to either be a little riskier or make some changes. And just overall, I know you have the personal attachment to them, and believe me, I've 8 years in this, and while mine's not as deep into Halo, it's like that's one of the first shooters that I played as well. They've done some good things, and I think while we don't know the future, and I think worrying about what could happen 5 years down the road to this, publisher and game developer that we really love, I don't know if it's worth putting so much into that right now because we just don't know.
I'm not. That's really a minor part of what I'm worried about. To Cog's point,
But that
yes,
sounds like the major part when you're talking.
They've never really succeeded at fulfilling the demand for Destiny that we have. But I see them selling to Sony as them giving up, right? Them saying, okay, we give up on the idea of an independent Bungie. We'll never be able to fulfill this dream. And I was sort of on the team of rooting for them. They're going to get there eventually. It's going to be a rough road, but people like you, me, and Cog, who do the show every week and play and support them, we're going to get them there because we believe in this game and this studio. And I just think, things are going to change for the culture and the company, and the idea, just the whole idea of them being a challenger that was moving up and had full ability to do their own thing is now gone. And now they're part of this big organization. And that's happening now. That has nothing to do with what's going on in the future.
Valid.
I'm just saying right now, they've the Bungie that I think they envisioned, that they sold to us, the dream of that independence is gone right away. And that makes me sad. That's all I'm saying.
And that's valid. All I will say is this. It's like, we know this company, right? And they're this prickly bunch. They kind of beat to their own drum. They do their own thing. And I get that. I know the sentiment you have. I was like, wait a minute. This kind of, when I first heard the news, I was like, this kind of goes against your whole mantra of independence and this, that,
it's a bait and switch. Yeah.
Right. But one thing I know about Bungie, they have learned through leaving Microsoft, they learned they didn't control ownership of an IP, right? Halo was not theirs. Left Activision. Oh, Forsaken underperformed, right? They learned that as far as the control and the release cadence of trying to push a sequel, and you know how Activision was with that churning out. And remember, we got Rise of Iron when that was supposed to be Destiny 2. Right. So at the end of the day, they've learned then, like, no one's going to control our cadence and release cycle. What I think with this, right, and the way, this is just my guess, and again, we don't know the future, is that the way this contract is set up, if it goes left, and let's say eventually Sony's tendrils come in and say, hey, we need you to do blah, 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 and we're going to be doing this. I feel, especially after the Activision situation, that contractually they have set themselves up to break if they feel their terms are violated. Because if that's the first bullet point in this deal that they want to promote, Sony's promoting, hey, they're independent. I've never seen this before. So to me, that shows how important it is. And if there's any type of violation there, based on my past experience, and my opinion, again, I'm guessing, they will break north again and do what they do. But, it remains to be seen. We have to see how this thing's going to play out.
No, I agree. And to your point, like, either this contract is set up because they've learned from their mistakes in the past, or they haven't learned at all. And that they shouldn't be doing this, and it's going to backfire. And just to be clear, I have nothing against Sony. I mean, I don't think their movies are particularly good. Yeah. But if anyone acquired them, Microsoft, I would have been pissed. If another third party developer bought them, I'd probably be pissed. Like EA buying them, I'd be like no way. So I wanted them to be independent, and I'm sad. But if the game became PlayStation exclusive tomorrow, I'd turn on my PS5 and that'd be my platform. Like, I don't care. I deal with the bad joystick placement.
Well, before we wrap, I was going to say, is like, as we kind of wrap this thing up, there's a lot of information that trickles out. There can be some fears about the future. It is a very unique deal, to say the least. And I am very curious to see what happens with Sony, if they get like this support, if Bungie, you see changes from them of either more or less, or support studios when you say developed by Bungie and hey, we had this help from this other Sony team that helped us get this expansion. Who knows? But it does seem very unique, and I think we've all got different perspectives. And I see even Chad is kind of all over the place. Like, is it good? Is it bad? So it's like, I think everybody is a lot of up in the air, but I think the unique nature of this deal is something that we all will keep our eyes on very closely. And as you guys have said, if the language is there, if Bungie has learned, if it's not beneficial to both parties, they can potentially have a chance to break this thing apart. But again, it's like there is potential. I can see the fear of what could go poorly, but also on the other side, I can see the potential of where these two companies can actually synergistically help each other a lot. And I think that is something for the future, because even you being Xbox, like, this is multiplayer. This is like Xbox. They're like, this is their multiplayer, single player, just one, hashtag just one game. It's like, and now you've got this company that is hashtag like just two. Yeah. It's like, and now you've got Sony, who's like the multiplayer single player guy. And then you've like making amazing motion cap. Like, what if they got to use like Naughty Dog's motion capture studio for just, there's certain things where and again, does that happen? I have no idea, but I think there's chances for good things, and there are legitimate things to fear. I just think at this point, it's one of the more unique deals in the world of acquisitions, and I'm just very curious to see where it goes.
What if Sony and Bungie make the next Arcane, you know?
Ooh,
what if that comes out of that?
I would watch the crap out of that.
I would hope Arcane would be an independent studio that grows. I don't have that much the confidence in the ability of large corporations to create young, like
I think we're talking about a different Arcane there, because I was talking about the TV show that came out.
Yep.
Oh,
TV show is actually amazing.
So that's actually for me, it's not about future fear. It's about the stuff that already has happened that makes me sad about like the fact that the whole independent Bungie dream is basically over, or at least for the foreseeable future, unless something goes terribly wrong. But the way I see it, Sony benefits a ton. It's probably going to transform their business because they want to focus on live service games, and Bungie is the studio to acquire.
Facts.
I mean, I get it for them. Yeah. I just feel like we traded. They're getting that, and what is Bungie getting in return? Music. TV shows, movies. It reminds me of the time Xbox got on stage and was like TV sports, and we were like, "What the? This isn't what any of us want." And so that's my concern. It's like, okay, so they're getting movies and TV.
In fairness,
and
that may not be something that you want.
I actually care about.
That may not be something that you want, but that's something Bungie seems to want.
They've shown.
I was like,
I know, but why?
But again, this is
Microsoft also wanted to be a TV box that didn't make it good. It didn't make it a good idea. You know what I mean?
It's not necessarily a bad thing, because like if you look at, for example, a game like The Witcher, everybody loved that, and then they started making the TV show, the Netflix show, and that was a huge success. Many people loved that.
It wasn't as good as the video game. So
yeah, but you can't take away Trav. You can't take away from The Witcher right now. Netflix is popping. It's popping.
I 100% agree. But if the studio CD Projekt Red announced that they're gonna spend 50% of their time making TV shows, I would be pissed.
But
because that's not what I want.
But they're not though. But Bungie will not be making.
I'm just saying if they did, and I think Bungie split focus, and their ambition is sort of like their eyes are bigger than their stomach in this case. I think they should make their game amazing, and I think they have a lot of work to do there, and they're over here playing with TV and movies, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? What are you guys doing?
What if that Sony bag let them hire? Then they got, you know what I'm saying? It's a big bag. You know, $3.6 billion.
We'll see. They're all billionaires now.
It takes completely different talent to make a TV show.
Yeah,
it takes completely different talent to take a TV show than to actually work on a game. Like those things cannot be done by the same people at all. So like if they're gonna go the route of TV show and all that stuff, they're probably just gonna sit around the table with some of the writers. But the people that are going to be doing that is nobody that currently works at Bungie.
It would be different people. It would be different people, but they're fighting over the same budget. And if you put your money into developing an arm for TV development, that's money that's not going into developing the game. That is true, right? And so now they're going to have this TV studio arm. They're spreading their money out, and I just want them to focus on making the game good.
I don't think that the reason that Bungie or like the Destiny 2 is not good in some areas, it's not a money problem. I don't think it was. They have so much money, and they couldn't spend it all to make their game better. What they need is more talent, time, and staff.
They're talking constantly about needing more support and needing more employees and all that stuff. And so now they've got the money, and what are they doing with the money? They're making TV shows.
Yeah, but
is that no?
Why wouldn't I be pissed about that? Why wouldn't anybody who plays Destiny be pissed about that?
Okay, okay. Marco's got a valid point, so it's like I'm trying to let him get his in.
Yes.
But basically what he's saying is like, they just got 3.6 billion, 1.2 to keep people on, but that also doesn't mean they just said, hey, we're hiring a butt ton more people. They've said this on like the Sony post and everything. So it's not like, as you're saying, the money for the game division, Marco's saying, is like you have a completely different team. You see people hired for TV, film, music, and comics. Like that is going to be a different division of Bungie. So the amount of money
but it's
going,
the same money.
No, it's not even going to be. It could not even be a division of Bungie. Like, what if Sony now owns Bungie and therefore can do stuff with the IP, and then Sony just pays for the TV show?
Yeah.
And so, like, they have way deeper pockets. They have way more resources. They have the studio. The Bungie just has to get the writers around the table once in a while, kind of direct it in a similar manner.
Yep.
Everything could be done by Sony without affecting the focus of Bungie whatsoever.
I don't think that that's what's going to happen, because
that is
Bungie
basically
said in their
how
post.
That is pretty much how it
Bungie said
works.
in their post that this is what they want out of it, is they want to be able to expand the universe.
Yeah,
and
but
now that Sony and Bungie are the same organization, they are sharing the same pool of money, whether you like it or not. And I just think that the focus now, they're just not. To me, if you were going to grow the business and raise a bunch of money, it should be focused on the main thing that you were doing. It's like, you ever been into one of those places that serves like Mexican food and fried chicken, and you're kind of like, I don't know about this. I feel like you guys are doing a little too much. It's like a KFC Taco Bell. It's never going to be as good as the full just Taco Bell. You know what I mean? Like now they're doing all this different stuff, and that's
Except Sony already has
I'm disappointed.
Sony already has the studio. Sony already has the stuff working on that. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel or trying to
Correct.
like McDonald's is not trying to become a Burger King. If I were to take your example, you have some company that owns like a lot of the high class restaurants, like that has a really high class restaurant with a burger and somewhere where you can get really high class fries. And now they bought something where you can get some good salmon. Doesn't mean that the salmon place is only going to also serve fries and do it worse than what they like. They have the movie studio already. They have the talent there. And they just have to communicate with Bungie
I totally agree. I just think that if this was a move by Bungie to do a specific thing, they said right there in plain English what the reasoning was, right? And it had nothing to do with the game.
They want to expand the universe, and they don't have a film studio.
It had nothing to do with the game. So they sold their company so that they could expand not in game, so they could not improve the game. In fact, all the messaging was nothing about the game's going to change. I want things to change about the game.
Okay, this is the last thing. We have to move on.
Have to move on.
I know.
Seriously,
I know. I
So
knew
you
this
gotta
was going to
stop.
take forever.
Yes,
But the one thing we're going to say is you don't know it won't change. Just because that 3.6 billion,
you don't know.
1.2 billion for employees, but you don't know that money isn't going to the game. And just as Marco perfectly phrased it, Sony has Sony Pictures. They have an entire company for making films and making these other things. And if they're like, okay, Sony Pictures, we're going to make a Division movie. Let's consult over here on the writing, the lore, get the story straight. And then they go make a movie. That's what that potentially helps 2.4 billion outside of employee retention come into Sony to help make the game that you are so frightened and worried about, and turn around. Sony can go over there and make a movie with the lore, the IP, and everything else. If they buy an IP and they make a movie, and Bungie has now a lot more money, support other studios from Sony Studios to make a game, you have potential. That's all I'm saying. Is every time somebody gives you an option, you're saying, no, it's not going to do that. No, it's not. The potential is there, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, but they also close off a lot of options by getting acquired by a company like Sony. They're no longer independent. They don't control their own destiny. There's all these other doors that close.
And yet,
those are the doors that I cared about.
The one thing that they state is that they actually control their creative independence, and that's been plastered everywhere.
That's what they
and it's like, and if you say
so
that's not going to happen,
it shows the level of importance to them. Sorry.
Yeah. And I'm just going to say,
we control our independence, and we're getting acquired so we can make movies.
Right, and you're projecting that. You don't know that for sure.
But that's what they said. That's what they said. They said this is a move to expand their universe.
They said they're going to stop making games, stop improving the game.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying. I'm just saying if you're going to get acquired, if you're going to get acquired, shouldn't the reason that you get acquired, the main reason, so that you can improve your video game, wouldn't that be what you want to say at the top of your thing?
How do you think this won't?
Why
How do you think this won't
assume at the same time? I don't understand why one has to stop. Why are we projecting negative energy that one has to stop?
Cog. This is their own messaging.
The own messaging was that we remain independent and the game.
We're not going to change our game. We just sold our company to make movies.
That is not what they said, and we are moving on. Put a pin in this. We are done.
We'll revisit this.
We'll talk about this in the future. We just do not have time. Anyway. So, as you can tell, there are definitely opinions about that. Chat is somewhat divided. We have opinions, but we got to move on. There's this game that they're developing and putting money into, and we have a future in this thing called The Witch Queen. We actually got a lot of information about it this week, to say the very least. So, first thing that came was the actual Exotics trailer. That was like the first little piece of information we got. Exotics, we got the Grand Overture, a slug launcher that charges a full auto missile launcher. We got the Parasite Worm Launcher with increasing damage. Osteostriga, that one's going to have swarming projectiles that trigger a toxic burst. We have the 3 different glaives. The Titan one makes a shield. Warlock makes a healing turret. The Hunter makes the chain lightning waveform across the ground. You got a Titan exotic that does a giant stasis wall. That thing's huge. The Osmiomancy, which is the double cold snap enhanced tracking grenades. And the Blight Ranger, you've got reflected projectiles deal increased damage. That's with the Arc Staff Reflection Super. From this trailer, like this is kind of the first thing that dropped this week was the trailer before we even got to an article. What exotics excite you the most from what you guys have seen? And Marco, guests usually get honors.
I go first. Okay, so I don't really have a particular exotic that I was like, wow, I'm so excited for that. But I do like that they're going more and more in the direction of having so many different type of weapons that do something unique, and that's what I really like. That's like I almost have to compare it to the Ratchet and Clank games, where every weapon you get is so unique and so different from one another, and has such a unique thing to the gameplay. And I mean, that is like we've all seen another 140 hand cannon, another 150 hand cannon, or whatever. You have 180 hand cannons now. So having more of those is definitely fun. But I mean, I'm not really the loot type of guy. I don't really go for god rolls. So as long as it's like fun to use a couple times like that will be it for me.
Shout out to Sir America with the $2 super chat.
Yeah.
Here's $2, you guys. Now go kiss.
Kiss
Hey,
and make up.
it's all
It's all
love here.
love.
We
We're just
get
passionate.
heated. I've told Paul to his face that I hate his guts. No, I'm just kidding. But we love each other. We
love each
talk
other.
about this stuff because we love Bungie and we love
Passionate.
Destiny. And
Exactly.
It's
It's passion. It's passion. We feel
If you
so.
love
That's
them,
all.
have a
It's
little
all
faith
love.
in them. Anyway,
And
Cog,
also,
exotics.
if no one was against this move, wouldn't it be weird to have
Hey,
a panel
we're-
of 4 people who are all like, "Oh yeah, this is the best thing ever"? There's got to be some guy.
We're done with
who's,
this. Anyways,
who
continue.
disagrees.
Cog, exotics. What excites you, sir?
The Warlock one with the riff. I'm all about that. I'm all about the riff action and getting up the recovery. I already think about builds in my mind. I'm ready to go. What you got? What you got, Trav?
Healing.
Yeah, I also like the glaive. I like that both the Titan and the Warlock glaive are designed specifically to keep Warlock players alive.
Yo.
Because you can heal yourself with your glaive, and then I can shoot a bubble at you to protect you because you don't know how to play the game because you're a warlock. So
ridiculous.
I like the Titan glaive. I think that's my favorite new exotic.
Lucky Marco here. He'll tell you that. I can't talk slanderous because I like
Because
Marco
you got
too
3
much.
Titans
Yeah,
here.
I'm jumped right now. I'm just gonna pull my book out. Shut up. Like a warlock.
You're just gonna fluke your way down to the bottom of the
I'm
puzzle
so
and watch
study
us
right
fall.
now. E.
For me, honestly, it's that first one. The Titan glaive is cool for the projection. The glaive, I'm wondering how for the specific exotic glaives, if we're going to like build up a charge, because it's like if you can run into a PvP match with a glaive and every death be able to shoot that launcher out, that seems a little OP, or the healing turret. So I wonder, is it going to be like some type of build up a charge by blocking or stabbing to be able to get that projectile? I'm kind of curious the functionality of how the exotics work, but the one that got me is just the first one in the trailer. The slug launcher that you seem to charge, this like electric, it seems like an arc xenophage is how it seems to fire, is like that big shot. And then you see him ADS just this wave of a missile barrage that seems to wipe out everything in front of him. So honestly, that one just seems unique for a heavy exotic, because it seems like if it's slug, you can have some range and control. But if you need to wipe a room, all of a sudden now you can. It actually seems like it's got a lot of potential both sides. And of course, nobody's going to talk about launching a worm. We have a worm gun.
That was cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
Now, my
Yeah,
only
that's
worry
like-
is...
That's like the big thing I remember from that trailer, because I scanned through it like when
Yep.
it came out a couple days ago, and that's like the one thing I remember, aside from having like a bubble coming out of your glaive as well.
Yeah.
Like those were the 2 highlights.
Yeah, the only thing is, all I can say is this better be a functional exotic, and we better not get another Salvation's Grip story exotic. That's all. If it's a
Oh
functional,
no, this
like,
is gonna be a one thing to do, and then it's never gonna be used again. That's
see,
I'm
that's
pretty
my
sure
worry. That's my worry. You fire a worm in like 3 places, and you put the thing in your vault and never touch it again. So
exactly.
hopefully it's not that.
That's like 80% of the weapons, though, in Destiny, pretty
that's
much.
not wrong.
You're not wrong. You're
not wrong. So that's most of the exotics. Very excited to see. And we know there's more, because there's a helm for the Titans that looks like it's on fire. We don't know what that one's going to be. There's shoulders for the Hunter.
What?
And there's some we don't even know yet. So those are just like pictures in a trailer.
The flaming thing is obviously for Bungie employees, like what they did with Halo Reach and Halo 3 back in the day, right? The flaming helmet. You don't know that?
Oh yeah,
I was gonna
from-
ask.
from
Okay.
I think that
It's
that's
also in
not
Halo
what that is.
Infinite right now.
In
They
Halo
added it
Infinite
back
right
in
now.
Halo
Right.
Infinite,
in the
yeah.
battle pass.
But it's not as exclusive, you know?
Yeah,
You
at
gotta
least.
super
yeah,
chat.
dude.
Yeah.
You just
And
gotta buy
then,
$5 for it, and that's it.
speaking
Yeah.
of $5
Oh,
super
no,
chats,
no,
we
you have
have
to earn
Gaming
that one.
Forte.
You can't buy them.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a part of the season pass.
Gaming Forte with the $5 super chat. Everyone knows Cog was going to pick the Warlock exotic. Of course, that man would pick that option even if it wasn't a choice.
We already know Warlocks. You already know.
If-
Listen,
what
I
is
could
this-
go
what
on
does this
Warlock
exotic
defense.
do? It
Warlock
makes
Nation,
you
stand
slow.
down. Y'all know I will go an hour defending Warlocks, but we got 3 Titans. We got long shows, so I
Yep.
can't do my normal slander back at
Yeah,
them.
that's fine.
But trust me, I'm keeping it in. I'm bottling it up.
Okay. The next thing we got was a Game Informer article, which actually went into a decent amount of information with regards to a little bit of weapon crafting. We're going to get into more of that once we get to the actual TWAB. But the big thing we got was a little information about the campaign. And they're calling this the definitive Destiny campaign. After playing Taken King, after playing Forsaken, those are strong words. They're saying you've got player quantity scaling. So if you go in at higher difficulties, they're actually going to scale the missions with multiple
Hell
players. I think that's the first time they've ever mentioned anything. Like everything
Yep.
is just the same all the time. But the fact that they've got player scaling, legend difficulty, they really are harping on that replayability of the campaign, the rewards for going back to play it. Is in it sounds like this is Savathun's ultimate story. And I know we've talked about the campaign before. Marco, I don't know how into the story you are for it. Are you excited for Savathun or the campaign,
I know Kate
or is
died.
this
That's
appealing?
all I know about the story, pretty much. That's what I remember from it.
I remember
Um,
Kate died.
No,
That
but
is-
I'm
that is
actually,
accurate.
I actually cared so little about the story up until this point that I usually play with the dialogue disabled. So even when I'm doing all the seasonal
Cool.
activities,
Yeah, let's
I
make a
have to-
movie out of this.
I have to stand next to the characters and sit there for a couple minutes without them actually speaking to each other. So no, I don't actually know what's going on all too much. I'm just more interested to see what they do with the gameplay here. See how they change it up. Obviously, weapons aside, we have all these enemies now that actually have abilities, I think, like light abilities and all that stuff. And so I'm hoping that will change up the gameplay in a major way, and also do like a lot of stuff to the raid. That will give us some interesting mechanics to play around with there. That's mostly what I'm looking forward to. Other than that, not really too deep into the story.
That's fair.
But
Now you good.
That's
The
totally
fact,
fair.
the fact that they are putting the whole campaign, like putting it as replayable and putting a higher difficulty in there, that leads me to believe it's more than just the same old bad guys we've been shooting over and over, and there's going to be a little more to it, hopefully.
Travis?
I just hope in addition to because I'm a little worried about them saying that the game gets more difficult when you add people. I do want it to be more difficult when you add people, but I don't want it to be like Grandmaster Nightfalls where they're just like beefy for no reason.
No.
What I would like is for them to add higher enemy density at scaling, like just more people, because that's always been a problem when you play a campaign in co-op is that there's some people that just have nothing to shoot at, you know? So I would like that as a preference for if they're going to scale the difficulty.
Yeah, good point. I agree on the enemy density part. I do like the care because I was one of those guys that really liked the Red War campaign, and it kind of bummed me out when D2 launched, and then it was like you can't go back. First of all, it's the content not even in the game right now; it's in the vault. That's another thing. Right? That's another story. But look, I like the fact that they're taking it seriously. There's going to be difficulty scaling. To me, it shows that they are really putting the effort in, and I'm with Marco in the sense that I really, in order for this to live up to the mythical title as far as campaign, we would agree Taken King is probably up there. What I would need is for this to transition beautifully into the raid. And that to me is always key. When you have that narrative connection, that's what made me fall in love with Taken King. And then you go right into the raid. You beat the campaign, you think Oryx is beaten. Nope, we got to go to this throne world. Okay, boom, you go into the throne world. This is an amazing, difficult, hardcore raid. And then even after the raid, it's the remnants of the Taken War, the map changes, everything. So I want that metamorphosis, and also kind of like what Forsaken did, where we thought it was just Tangled Shore, boom, Talisman, and now you got this beautiful locale, right? The Dreaming City. Like if they transition this thing seamlessly, they got potential. So that's what I'm hoping for.
And then they also opened the dungeon for the Forsaken campaign after beating the Last Wish, right? Like they had like another thing coming and another thing coming.
Yes, and the cycle of the store, like Forsaken is highly rated just for those type of transitions narratively.
Yeah, my worry is it won't quite go Forsaken, especially because again, the support they're getting not going to pan out for a little while to like make this expansion better. But I know they've told us like raid dungeon in future seasons, so I feel we're not going to get that Savathun unlock the Shattered Throne unlock moment. But I'm 100% with you that if the story has got to tie to the raid. If we just go deal with Savathun in a throne world, and whether we face her, whether we have a discussion, she's hopefully a year-long thing. If we kill her in a story mission, you know I'm going to be pissed. But if there is a discussion as to we go to the throne world, we have the interactions with Savathun, whatever happens there, some tie-in to go into that pyramid ship that is on her throne world that is this reflection of her mind. I need a reason to go there. If it's just like, here's the raid, go into this ship, we need the reason why.
Yeah,
that's the biggest one. And we did get confirmation for the Lucent Brood. You will have to finish their Hive Ghost off. They actually said that you are going to have to finish them or they'll respawn in a few seconds, just kind of like we do. So it's actually one of
I
those.
wonder if you'll have to finish them off with your hand, though. My problem
That's
is
a
having
good
to run
question.
over
Run
and
up
do
over
it.
it.
That's
do it.
If you could shoot it,
Nope.
that would be great.
They
but
said
in the
you have
lore,
to be
you have
close.
to use paracausal bullets and all that. So I just don't know.
So they said you have to be close enough to do a finisher. So they really want you to close that
God.
gap. And I think part of the reason we're getting a glaive is due to the multifunction nature of a shield. You have a way to push in, try and get that shield off. You might have to thin the herd, but you have that shield potentially from your glaive to push in and go for that. So they did say you are going to have to get up close and personal, I think, to finish these things off. So you are going to have to, no more sitting in the back planking off stuff.
I was about
think
to say,
you're going to have to get in the mix.
That's a problem.
They grandmasters.
I know. Believe me, I know.
Bro.
Can you imagine soloing something?
That's terrifying. I'll watch
That's going to be
Esoteric do it
brutal.
first. That's fine.
I'm wondering, like, do you think that these new enemy types will be in strikes and stuff?
That's
and
the
raid in
question.
That, or do you? Because I can see them not.
I think
putting
they
it
will
into-
because they also retroactively put all the champions in older raids or older strikes and stuff like that. Wasn't the thing until a certain update, and now they're in every single strike, every single Grandmaster, right?
Yep.
So all
That's
these
true,
new
but
enemies.
I think the raid is supposed to be scorned, isn't it? Or
We don't
from
know.
what we've seen.
Oh, I don't know. I misspoke when I said raid, but I'm definitely thinking like all the strikes, all the dungeons or whatever.
I mean,
like
there's
we might
champions
see
involved
these type
now.
of enemies appear because the same had
Yeah.
happened for the champions, barrier champions, unstoppables, all that stuff.
I can see that being annoying, having to finish off everyone in person where they come back. I could see that being annoying.
And again,
Well, there
could
might be some other mechanics and some mods and some other stuff that lets you do it from range, right?
Yeah.
We have weapon
They're gonna
crafting, so
have
maybe
to come
there's
up
something.
with a paracausal gun for me to shoot those ghosts from a distance.
I'm sure they'll have solutions, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, do so. We'll see. But it does present a challenge. I understand what Travis is talking about. It's hard content.
So I think I don't think there's too much else in there. They did talk about weapon crafting. We're going to get into that here in a second. They give a little bit on the glaive itself, just a little detail of how it's going to work. It's their first-person melee weapon. For the melee itself, you can have a combination, kind of like this maybe 2, 3, 4 hit combo of jabs that you can actually stab them with. It's going to have a short to medium range energy blast projectile of some kind. And again, this is how I wonder if you have to charge that up or if the exotic functionality, maybe it's a hold, reload, and you charge the shield into it. Still got to know the functionality there, but you also have the defensive shield. So it is this jack of all trades, but the combo of jab melee, I can't wait to see the animations on this first person melee spear that we've got in this game, because while bows are like unique for Destiny, I still can't figure out if this is going to feel good or not. And I just can't wait to get my hands on it. I'm sure it will because they do well with all their weapons, but it's one I got to get in my hands because it has me. It could feel very like blink, blink. It could feel really stupid, but it also could be cool if they do it right. So I'm just very curious.
oh, they've made the energy sword and the gravity hammers before, so I'm sure they'll nail this as well. It's not exactly the same, but it's kind of in the same ballpark, right?
Yeah.
True.
My worry is that
Mm-hmm.
Marco, to your point, is obviously they can do melee weapons well, but because this one is melee and ranged, it could end up being too middling, too weak at either of those, because they can't make it amazing at both, right? Otherwise, everyone would just use glaive. So
I think you can get
worry
away.
about that a little bit.
I think you can get away with making it about as good as a normal primary weapon, because the melee ability, you'd have to get up close anyway. So for high level and hard content, it's not always viable. Plus, you're probably stuck in an animation as well. So I could see it being strong either way.
Yeah,
like
but you know, well, I don't know if you play PvP, but you if you do, then you know the history of Bungie with melee animation canceling. So I could see that being a problem. You know, the shoot melee cancel, they do that to BXRing and Halo.
Oh,
It's a very common thing.
You can push them off a ledge if you just reload and put and melee the whole time in Halo 3 as well.
Yeah, I worry about that. Like if it's an animation, can you like shoot and then immediately melee and start making some cheesy builds? So.
He and his PvP going against the cheaters.
Of course
bag.
I am. I'm always thinking about how the PvP sandbox is going to change.
Already know where you at.
I mean,
I gave up on that after Stasis. Basically, everybody was saying, "Well, Stasis could be really dangerous for PvP 6 months in advance," and then it just
It was
completely
a dark
destroyed the game.
time for PvP.
Yeah,
There aren't very
sure.
many non-dark times for PvP, but that was one of them.
I haven't really at this point. I'm like, yeah, anything that comes out is just gonna break it, and I've just stopped caring.
We've accepted
to be
it.
honest.
See, that's a good mentality to have. Just accept what happens and roll with the fact that not taking this thing too seriously. But the big information we got was the 6,000 word twab of all the craziness. Now, I'm going to try and cover some of the high points with regards to some of these chunks and then kind of get your peels because I'm not going to read this thing verbatim. I've got a bit of an outline, so we're going to see. So weapon crafting is the first piece of it. And from what we've seen in weapon crafting, I think I've seen a general positivity towards it with a little bit of, trepidation with regards to some of the longer term pieces of it. But the idea is with crafting, everybody is going to get the first missions of Witch Queen, number 1 and number 2. They're free to all players, and this is what's going to introduce us to weapon crafting. You're going to be getting a pattern, which is kind of like a blueprint. You can picture that. You're going to collect materials to kind of build the base weapon, and then through combat, you're going to unlock the potential. So it's going to happen. The first one, you're going to go through the first 2 missions. You're going to find the Enclave, which is where all of this weapon crafting is going to take place. Really cool looking room. And you're actually going to be given all the materials. You'll find your first piece, and this is where you're going to basically craft your first glaive. So the crafting is going to begin around the glaive. After that, it's going to unlock the other weapons. And the big things we've got is there's going to be resources that you find out in the world. There are also other resources that we are able to actually do objectives for, depending on where you find. And a lot of this comes from the deep sight, basically ability that we're going to acquire in these first 2 missions. And also the deep sight resonance weapons that we're going to find. We actually have a new outline color on weapons. They're going to be red. So the deep sight resonance is going to have this objective and on a weapon. And they basically describe it as take a high impact auto rifle that's got rampage on it. And you've got the deep sight resonance perk on it. Use the weapon for a while, whether it's in activities or number of kills or however you do it. And then they describe it as if rampage is on that weapon and you complete the objective with the deep sight resonance, you're going to either unlock, and again, we don't know if this is a consumable or a one-time thing, or if it's just unlocked for good, the rampage perk. Now you can take that rampage resonance in theory, or they say other damage perks, back to your crafting table and theoretically now make your weapon with it. And you can either craft a new weapon or you can reshape weapons. So you can actually make different weapons as we go. There's a new currency. We knew that was going to happen, Travis. Sorry, but so far I've only seen one.
Mm-hmm.
Just one.
They're removing a few.
Yeah, we're getting rid of quite a few.
Actually,
so it's a good thing. That's going to be your resonance alloy, whether it's with regards to reshaping or crafting. That seems the main important piece. Once your weapon is crafted, and this is the one where some people are worried, but also are kind of enjoying the investment. Combat and activities is how you're going to level up your weapon. So you're going to be able to take it and enhance the stats and the traits and unlock higher perks and be able to switch even archetypes, it looks like, from a high impact. You're going to be able to switch things around on these weapons that really allows you to customize it to make your own piece of gear. So that's the general overall. You've also got things like mementos. The first one is going to be a Gambit themed one. Later on, you're going to have Grandmasters and Trials. They're really going to push us into this new Gambit experience. They are going to push us there. But that's going to have its customized tracker, but it's also going to be a way to change the appearance on the weapons. So some of these things, which I do think does open a lot for Eververse, which you guys would imagine, we talked about that. But I also think if you can earn them through Grandmasters, if you can earn them through Trials, if you can earn them through raids, having an option for both, like, hey, here's this cool one you can buy, or you go do the raid, you get it too. The big balance is we're looking for both. So before we get into other things, that's the main rundown of weapon crafting, just in kind of a brief piece of it. With regards to even our division man over here, Marco, and you had weapon crafting, changing out perks and stuff like that. I mean, how does this sound to you with regards to, Destiny's not so much into builds. And then also there's a whole lot of RNG coming from a game with crafting. Does this excite you actually to be able to, invest time? Is the time a worry for you?
I don't think it's, I don't know if it's going to make me care too much about the guns in Destiny still. It might make me care a little bit more because getting towards some of the roles on like guns and armor even might be a little more accessible this way. I still don't think you'd be able to just craft a straight up god roll. I think the way this is going to work, you can either craft a gun and then like it's going to come out pretty random, or like you can only select a couple of things to have and then you can swap out one thing, but you still need to get lucky and invest quite a lot to get the god roll. Because if you were to just able to craft a god roll, then that completely like invalidates all other portions of the game and the whole looting aspect. That's actually what happened with the Division, the Division 1 at some point. Like we had a crafting station where you would just craft one gun and then it would come with random perks. And then you could recalibrate one of those perks, right? And then so you'd have to get lucky to get 2 out of the 3 perks right, and then you can make the god roll yourself. And the problem was is that it was really, really easy to get materials to craft a gun. So instead of doing like activities to farm for a specific thing, you'd end up just farming boring materials and just sitting at the crafting station like 1,000 times to just roll away until you finally got the right gun. That's how that went, I think.
Yeah.
So I wonder how Destiny is really going to do this. Like, how close will it let you get to the god roll, and how much of that will invalidate actually playing activities? Because at the moment it becomes about materials, just like, I mean, you already know what's going to happen. People are just going to speed run the one thing that takes the shortest amount of time by like 10 seconds, and that's the only thing people will ever play, right? And in Division 1, that happened to be Clear Sky, an incursion that took like 5 minutes, and you got like a whole bunch of shit for that. And in Destiny, it's gonna be like Lake of Shadows, Greek GMs, right? Like, that's just the moment they make it too accessible, like, it's just Destiny just turns into Lake of Shadows, the game, pretty much, or like whatever activity there is, the game. So I think crafting is cool. I think the changing of perks can be cool. But I highly doubt it's going to be an efficient way to get your god rolls, because the moment they allow you to do that, you only play like one thing of the game, and then that's all how you get like all your loot pretty much ever, right? Whereas now you get a whole bunch of different guns for doing this and this and this and this, and the sources are all different, so it forces you to actually play the game in a somewhat more normal way, right? Or like grind out strikes one day and then maybe go to the Crucible the other day. You might not like everything, but it's still better than just playing one thing over and over. Yep. And that's kind of like what I think about that.
Yeah. I'm indifferent. I don't know how to feel about this. Like, there's a part of me that's excited that they're attempting it, but then the limits of combinations of what you actually could do, part of me feel there's going to be some restrictive there, to Marco's point, where it's like, you know, the minute that there has to be checks and balances in place from their standpoint of balance, is that they're not going to allow us to go completely crazy, right? So I'm indifferent. I just need to see, because are these changes truly going to be transformative in the game? And I don't want to sound negative, but it's just like, I'm not sure. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sure if this is something that I'm going to be investing a lot of time in. And then I'll tell you what, because my main concern is. My main concern is D1, is for as much as I love it and it's beloved, there was a point, and I think somebody said it in chat, where it was like, you're farming specific materials and activities because you know it's going to give you this particular thing. And I understand the idea of living with your gun. And remember filling out the circles, Chad? We used to fill out the circles in D1 and all that stuff. But I just need... Light. Yeah, the motes of light and stuff. So I just need to see how this affects the day-to-day experience with weapons. How does this truly change? Is it going to be something that is positive all the way? I'm not trying to put out negative energy, but I need to see it before I can say,
one thing I'll say on it as well, like one last thing that I kind of forgot to mention, is that the way that this could work really right is to do it in a combination with the system we have right now, to where you keep a lot of the guns, like I don't know, some stasis auto rifle or whatever, like in Trials. Is it another rifle? I don't know if it's another. Anyway, they have a lot of very specific guns that are tied to their activities, that still forces players out to do those activities, and still forces them to grind it. And then you just have a limited pool of guns you can craft. Like, there's only like 8 different guns you can craft, just like how there was only like 8 Warmind weapons, for example. You have some rolls in there, some guns that seem interesting, some stuff that you can really get a benefit out of, but it's not that you can just craft every archetype in whatever way you want. Like, you can't just that would completely defeat the purpose of everything they have so far in Destiny right now.
Mm-hmm. No, I hear you.
Travis, where you at?
What's that?
Oh, where you at on just weapon crafting on kind of the whole?
Yeah. I'm feeling pretty good about weapon crafting. It seems like they're like, I like the way that they've set it up. I like the fact that you can make perks. I think to Marco, your point, like, you can craft weapons, but it doesn't seem like you can craft the best weapons in the game. Just based on what they talked about with Trials and Grandmaster Nightfalls still having the adept weapons with an extra perk and being able to take mods that other weapons can't. That's all still remaining in place, it sounds like, based on what they said. Really, the only part I'm concerned with is kind of what Cog was talking about with materials and grinding. And I'm really worried about the leveling up weapons part. The fact that you have to go out in the world and fight with weapons that aren't completed yet, because we tried that in Destiny 1 and it wasn't really good because people really didn't like to have to go out and use a mediocre gun for 5 hours of gameplay just so that they can use a good gun after that. It was just like not good. And so what ended up happening is people just grinded motes of light and then would just burn all their motes of light so that they didn't have to do that part. And I worry about that happening again. Kind of basically like them people complaining about the time it takes to grind a gun up to where it can be full potential in crafting, and then Bungie going, okay, well, here's a material that lets you skip that part of the process, and then all of us thinking a year from now, why is this even a part of the process? Everyone just skips it anyway, and then that whole conversation. So I could just see that happening. But,
I never experienced that, but yeah, that would be pretty annoying.
Terrible. Yeah, really annoying. And then at that point, you're just like, nobody actually does it. So why is this even in the game? Everybody just skips it. So I could see that happening. But honestly, I was much more optimistic about the weapon crafting than I thought I'd be. So I'm pretty happy. I am a little disappointed that my theory about them adding the 10 power onto weapons and you being able to equip mods, that whole theory. I had that theory and a few others, and it seems like based on what they've told us so far, that's probably not the case. So that's unfortunate. But
yeah, I mean, for me, I think I'm kind of with Travis as well. I have a couple things I got to see how they are in action, but I think generally this can be positive because they talk about pursuit weapons, and I'm not really going to touch on that because they just give why they're there. Pursuit weapons work as this thing that's like 70% of a god roll. You have a direct path at it. Anybody can go for it. It's not going to be the be-all, end-all perfect, could be the best thing ever, but it is a way for every player at every level to go get a decent roll. And I think this, there are players who truly log in and go play strikes. That is like their, hey, I got an hour to play before I got to go to bed. The kid's already in bed. I got an hour. I'm going to do a couple matches, whatever. They use this weapon in combat. They're able to unlock it more. And one thing I did want to read verbatim is they said, once a weapon is crafted, Guardians may begin to increase its level by using it in activities and defeating enemies. We know that. This is where the bulk of your crafting playtime will begin. The more you use a weapon, the faster you will unlock its full potential. Enhanced stats and traits, which I'm going to get to traits in a second because those are brand new, can be unlocked when reaching higher levels, granting slight bonuses to your weapons and capabilities. And then you've also can see here, there are different ones where you pick a frame and it says he's going for the high impact frame, and it says this weapon will unlock a minor stat boost at like level 20. We know they're getting rid of most of the reason to masterwork a weapon besides the minor stat bonuses for, they literally said it's mostly for PvP, but now if you spend time with a weapon, it's not a currency, it's a time thing where you can actually get some stats out of it. But maybe if the high impact frame gets a little extra handling or the rapid fire frame gets a little bit more stability, they are truly, it looks like they're giving a few more weapons identity, which I do like to see. And then, but again, my worry is this whole resonance currency that we've got. So you'll find a weapon, it has the red outline, it has this like deep sight resonance. Use this weapon and you'll go through the attunement process, and then that's how you pull weapon perks out. I'm wondering if the weapon perks are going to be consumable if you've just unlocked it at the weapon table. How much of this deep sight resonance grinding you've got to do all the time using these just like okay weapons and activities just to get this resonance. Because you've got one box where it's the deep sight resonance, but there's two other choices for this mod slot for other deep sight resonance, or maybe those are the tasks to unlock the perks. I'm curious to see what the grind is with with unlocking all the perks. So when you finally get to craft your weapon, it does look like eventually you are going to potentially be able to make that auto rifle that might have subsistence and rampage. It might take you a long time to have that potential to truly get there. But again, you can grind for that and you can have a definite path. It could be grindy, or you could get the random chroma rush that I got that's got subsistence and rampage from an Umbral engram. So it's like the RNG I think is going to stay. And as you guys said, there are certain places that are going to have certain drops that you're not going to be able to get. Pursuits have specific combos. Raids tend to have unique weapons. If they do dungeons the same way, hopefully that type of stuff will probably be there. I think this is going to be a way for people who have a better way to do time investment as opposed to certain sources where they can eventually get very close to a very, very good roll, but it is going to be a lengthy way to balance it out. That's my assumption, but I'm worried how long the grind is for some people, but also I like the potential of you play, as you said, we've all put a lot of hours into these games that we love. At some point, it'd be nice if the time does get some payoff as well.
Yeah.
I think if the gun can actually be that good, and if you can actually decide the perks and all that, I feel like it's okay for the grind to be long, because then you'll only be doing that grind a couple times for a couple of your key weapons, and then that's it, right? Like you're not going to do it for every possible combination that you could possibly have in your vault. So I feel like that would be fair if it takes a while.
Yeah, I can respect that.
They did also mention exotic crafting, which is minimal. So if you picture, we've got random rolls right now on our couple mission. By the way, please go run those, everybody. Your exotic missions, you have 3 chances left to get an exotic roll for Dead Man's Tale and Hawk Moon. I'm going to get to why that's so important, but a 40% boost in damage to miners for exotic primaries.
Ooh, we're going to get to that.
That's like, we got some big potential. But that's going to be kind of a similar thing with exotic crafting, is going to be more of a tweak. Same way those work. You're going to have some change to the barrels or the magazine perks, but the main functionality of the weapon is going to stay there. Like, you're going to be able to craft the new exotic glaives for each class. Maybe it has a little faster reload. Maybe it has a little less charge time. Those are the tweaks you're going to be able to do. But generally, I think the exotic crafting is going to be tweaking, but I think that's their way to kind of still have the variation of exotic random rolls without the mess that they have right now. We do have the new pursuit shotgun. It's going to be called Reckless Endangerment. I don't think we know much more about that besides the fact that it's a pursuit weapon. But the big thing I think is actually going to change are weapon traits. And if you look through the TWAB and you pick up one of the 2 weapons, the red outline ones, you're going to see you got your barrels, magazines, perk 3 and perk 4. The masterwork is out at column 6 now, and we have a 5th column of a perk. And those are going to be the new weapon traits. And traits are something they've said, what is your way to make a solar hand cannon any different from another solar hand cannon, whether you get it from a strike or raid or anything else? And now these are going to be a way for them to give weapons a minor shift in identity, and some of these actually sound cool because you've got to change to the source of the weapon will determine what benefits you can have out of it. So take Trials of Osiris, for example. You've got the the trait, I'm going to call those the wrong thing many times, the trait called Alacrity. Gain increased reload, stability, aim assist, and range when the last living member of your fire team, or running solo, by the way. And for me, I was like, hey, okay, here we go. They're thinking. Solo includes solo, lost sectors, and rumble. So it actually gives you benefit for using certain things as a one-off. But it's 20 reload, 20 stability, 10 aim assist, 10 range. And then you've got Crucible, where if you're out of combat for 4 seconds, you get plus 40 to reload. So you're back in the fight faster. Nightfall Strike sounds actually really big. Stunning a champion, you get 60 health and plus 40 recovery for a few seconds. Strikes, every kill gives you a little bit of health. And you can actually combine these. So if you get a weapon from a Nightfall, you're going to have 2 different traits to pick between. Either the Nightfall with the big recovery boost on champions, or the Vanguard one where you get the little health boost. So if you got a weapon from Strikes and from Nightfall and you're going to go running Strikes, kick that thing over to the low level benefits and you kill a lot of enemies. You're just healing up, running through the whole time. You put that on an SMG with like Subsistence and Rampage. Now you're starting to melt, not dying a lot, just pushing forward. The benefits actually seem cool, and the fact that they're selectable seems kind of fun. So,
are all guns going to have that? Like
all the new weapons are going to have some type of trait.
So they're going to transition. They're going to transition into a new set of weapons now that are generally stronger than what we have, but only in specific areas.
Yep, that's a sunset, but not sunset.
Who predicted sunset was coming back? Who predicted? I'm sorry, Marco, I hate to interrupt you, but I called this. I knew they were going to bring sunset back in some way because in my opinion, the way they always was talking about power creep, this is their way to slowly get us away from those weapons. Sorry, Marco.
I just want the same thing with armor.
No, that was just what was going through my mind as well. Like they obviously want to get rid of some of the older guns issued, and now so they're going to make the guns powerful, but not more powerful everywhere. So this is like it's a pretty clever way to do it, actually, without pissing off your whole player base.
See, this is the information that Bungie is. They've tried a lot of options, and this is another one. But they also did it with weapon foundries as well. So you've got Suros, Hake, Amalon, Vice, for example, and potential new foundries. Hake is good, and this is the weird one. I want to read it so you guys can speculate too. This weapon deals increased damage against vehicles, turrets.
I hate this one.
Barricades and stasis crystals. And it says turrets include stasis
that's
turrets.
like the worst one, I thought.
Yeah,
I was
like,
that's
no one's gonna
great.
use
You know,
that
if
weapon
I
type.
meet someone in a Crucible sitting on their Sparrow, I'll be able to kill them a bit faster.
Yeah, right. That's
You don't
great.
see
Yeah.
the effectiveness of that?
Yeah.
I was thinking about it. I was like turrets. I feel like you don't really see them that often.
No, that was
Vehicles are
so
never
weird.
a thing. Like I was like, this seems like a useless archetype.
Yeah, it's 30%.
but whatever.
I guess the
30% of
stasis
structures and
guys-
stasis crystals. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
way to fight those. I guess.
I don't see it. I
Yeah.
don't see it.
But I
I'm
mean,
never afraid of the crystals. I guess it could counter the new Titan wall, the exotic
That's
that
true.
gives you the stasis
Yeah,
Titan wall.
big wall.
So I can
Yeah.
see that, but yeah, it didn't seem super useful to me.
I mean, if you go double grenades, double stasis grenades with the new Warlock exotic, you
Yeah.
could also have double turrets.
could also destroy the reversible Titan shield. What's that exotic that lets you shoot through?
Icefall
let you shoot
Mantle?
through.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Could destroy
Titan's-
that easier because that's a
Titan's
barrier.
ramparts, yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know, man. We'll see. I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see.
But I mean, yeah, you got Suros plus 40 handling plus and 20% flinch resistance for 6 seconds after reloading. Viced, you get a chance for a partial. You get basically a chance at subsistence.
That's really good.
Yeah, and then Amalon, stability is max plus 20, reload is max plus 30, but it reduces that benefit the deeper you get into the magazine. So if you're reloading, if you're one of those who like kill one guy and reload and kill one guy and reload, you're like a perpetual reloader.
I'm a
we
panic
got
reloader.
half of the crew here. Amalon will be your friend.
Avalon, and I like Avalon. I'm
So
sorry.
that's
Yeah.
I think
It's
it's
my
a
favorite
unique
foundry.
twist. For one, this actually shows that if this is what we removed masterworking for to get these types of things,
Mhm.
this seems like a fair trade-off.
Quick
Yep.
question. What are we thinking? What do you think is the benefit of? Are they going to get into the benefit of actual masterworking a weapon now? If the orb generation is gone, it's going to be changed to the mod from the last TWABs. Like,
They
And
mostly
the
mention
kill-
that masterworking it's just going to be that small stat benefit. It's mostly for your PvP guys. They've stated
Got
that. It's something they will revisit later, but right now your masterwork cores also look like they're a currency used in weapon crafting because it's going to be resonance alloy, glimmer, and cores. So if you're, swimming in cores, sure, you could masterwork a weapon for a smidge more range or a smidge more stability, but you don't need to masterwork a weapon now to have the functionality of orbs, to get the traits. It's just for if you want to be a little bit farther in those PvP shots. It's mostly for PvP, actually, at this point.
gotcha.
But I mean, for traits
So
for you
they
guys,
need to create another foundry that lets me the trait on that set of weapons is that I get to kill the ghosts of the hive because I do not want to walk over there. I don't want to have to walk over to you every time I kill you. It's
we're
so,
going
you
to
know
have
what
to
it is?
see how that goes.
It reminds me of that kill confirmed mode that they made.
Yes, where you got to go pick up the thing.
Where you had to go and
Yes.
pick
It's
up the
called
thing to get the
supremacy,
point.
yes.
That's what the entire sandbox is going to be in Witch Queen. The entire sandbox is just going to be kill confirmed. I'm really not looking forward to
Marco,
that.
can you
But
please
it's
talk
even
these two
worse
off a
because
ledge,
if you don't do it
please?
in 3 seconds, they come back. That's even worse than kill confirmed.
Can you talk him off a ledge, please, Marco? Can you tell him that's not quite so bad?
The what? The what? The Let's Plays?
No, he said he was. If you could talk, he said
Talk
try
to
to
these
talk
two
Travis off the ledge
off the
of kill
ledge.
confirmed PVE with this ghost mechanic.
I honestly I haven't seen too much about that or read too much into it. Like I honestly don't know. Like there's some
Yeah.
stuff that I'm just not. I'm not the type of person to go online and look at every single detail right now. I used to do that for the Division and maybe for like in the past for Destiny as well. But I kind of want to be surprised a little bit here and there too, and
I hear
not
you.
think about it too much.
Nice.
So like I don't know. We'll see. I'm just again in the same ballpark of we'll see what happens, and if it's
Yeah.
going to be a train wreck, I'll be there to not look away from it.
Just watch the entire train wreck. But
Yes, exactly.
like with the traits, though, to go back to that, you actually have the example if you get something from Gambit and an auto rifle, you could get the Gambit Hawkeye high impact auto rifle where you can have the Gambit perk is Invader Tracker, which they really want us to play Gambit, or versus the Hawkeye, which is the breach armaments type thing. So-
Invader tracker means
They
what,
want us
sir?
to play Gambit, but not well enough to add any maps or fix the mode.
We don't know what's
Everything
happening.
else, though, they
There's
wanna
going to be
play
a
it,
Gambit
yeah.
TWAB. I'm guessing it's next week because they'll probably say
Yeah.
Void Point 3.0 for the last one. But
No, they're saving best for last. Gambit's going right before Witch Queen.
I doubt that.
I doubt that.
I will-
But would you have guessed that they were going to do weapon crafting before Gambit?
I
to be
wouldn't.
fair.
I thought we'd get Gambit.
Yeah,
no, that's
like,
like now.
I mean, in fairness,
I would
yeah,
try
but
that.
we'll see.
Okay.
But most
I'm,
of
I'm
that,
still surprised that it's like its own category. Like it just feels like Gambit should be another PvP mode. It could just be like right there in the Crucible section, and that's it, right? Like I don't think it
That's
deserves.
interesting.
It doesn't really deserve to be its own thing. at all. I feel like they could just condense that with like the Crucible bounties maybe here and there, like do some stuff with that, just put everything at checks and just let it sit there. It has like what, 3 maps and like that's it.
It'll get reworked as a battle royale mode. We'll be fine.
It's been reworked like what, 3 times now already. I remember seeing a video years ago of also from Dado. The Gambit is now reworked. It works in a different way. We have the Gambit Prime. Oh no, we're combining the 2 Gambit modes. Like they've tried so many things already, right?
It wasn't reworked. It was stripped down.
Okay.
Yeah, they tried to make it less prominent, I think, and less fewer playlists and all that. But yeah.
But to answer your question, Cog, as we move on a little bit, they did mention kill trackers are going to be just intrinsic to all weapons because those came with Masterworks before. So it basically does say, yes, this means Masterworking should no longer be seen as mandatory, as we expect the plus 10 weapon stat to only matter to dedicated PvP players. We have no specific plans for changes to Masterwork at this stage, but we'll revisit it later. So that's kind of where their clarification is. It's mostly for the little stat boost that you could get, a little bit for the adepts, not quite as mandatory, and it's mostly just the PvP tryhards, I think.
But not to go long on this, my only concern is for the PvE dedicated guy on a masterwork. Like, I don't know if there's enough incentive. And we already have our little concerns about having to have the same element in order to get the orb generation for how they're changing the system, because now Masterwork is taking away the orb generation. I don't know how I feel about that all the way yet. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna give some Travis concerned energy. I don't know how I feel about that long term. On the PvE side.
No, I mean, I think a lot of us were that way when they announced that mod is going to...
I was on the opposite side yet again.
I know, right? We always, I'm trying to come over to your side, then you come over here.
We can't win. We can't be on the same side. Okay. Being as we're getting a little closer on time, I'm going to try and blow through some of the high points for the Sandbox, because this does get into a lot of nitty gritty. Basically, fusion rifles. The high impact fusion rifles have not been good. They're beefing them up a little bit in PvE and slightly better in PvP. Numerically, though, if you hit somebody with 3 bolts in PvP, you technically could kill them because it's like 192 damage. So that could be interesting. Blinding and concussion grenade damage is going to be lowered by 25%. So you won't be able to blind and one-shot somebody in PvP. Rocket launchers.
What about PvE though there? Because that's where the blinding nades are really strong at the moment, right?
See, that's where
are they doing anything with that?
It looks, normally they will say not affected in PvE, and it does look like the blinding concussion will still function, but the damage will be less. Again, it seems like in PvE as well, which I do.
Yeah, but the blinding is what makes it strong. You can just go into a rate under leveled, and you shoot one, you slide with slide shot, shoot another, and then the whole room is basically stunned, right? So that will be interesting. There's one currently that you can get with the Umbral Engrams, right? Where
Ignition code.
The Gargle.
I think.
Yeah. Ignition code.
Yeah, that one.
Yep.
I feel like everybody's going to be using that for the raid.
Yeah, the blinding is extremely helpful at high level stuff just to try and control a room. So if you don't have one, try and find one. Rocket launchers are going to get little subfamilies, so they feel a little bit different because some have intrinsic tracking, which is going to be 0.95x damage. You've got the high impact, which is staying about the same. Adaptive and aggressive are getting like 5% more damage. Not major changes, but they're going to be slight variations. Not enough where your DPS chart's really going to change that much, but enough to where they are not all the same. Basically, for snipers, zoom is not going to be quite as effective or as much of an effect with regards to your aim assist. If you're a sniper in PvP, should be a little better. Pulse rifles, taking slightly too long to kill red bar enemies in PvE, so they're getting a 10% damage buff to miners, which is good because this is also going to benefit the next piece, exotic weapons. And this is one of the big ones. We got to touch on this one for a little bit.
Let's get it.
Exotic primary weapons and trace rifles, so exotic trace rifles as well, aren't sufficiently stronger than legendaries for them to be worth bringing into hard PvE content, particularly against miners. Note that this change applies to all exotics that use primary ammo. Fighting Lion is one you probably might have forgot about, and includes most secondary effects, i.e. perk-triggered explosions, sunshot, glacioclasm, from
Outbreak
Ace. Perfected, Ace of Spades, those types of things. Increase damage versus miners by 40%. Graviton Lance. Is this exciting? Anybody?
Hell yeah.
I'm sad that you said the miners, because I would have loved to have an Outbreak meta for the raid again.
Outbreak perfected meta. Let's go. I feel you. What you feeling, mate? What you feeling, Marco? You little bummed that it's not mages included? You bummed out?
I'm just I don't know. Do we I guess it only applied like this would only be important to like Grandmaster Nightfalls maybe. I feel like everywhere else the ads, especially the minors, already drop that when you look at them.
It'll
Right,
matter for day one raid
Yeah, that
when
it
the
actually
contest
will.
mode is enabled.
Okay, yeah, that's true. But are you gonna run an exotic primary just for ad clear?
Think about how much damage
Yes.
Hawkmoon could do.
You really?
Yeah, yes, I will. That sounds great. Especially
I
something
feel like
like
I feel like the most important thing is having like enough boss damage on day one, so
I got
everybody's
you.
going to be running.
yeah, but that's what your heavy slot's for, right? Heavy and special.
Sure, but that could be like you have a guy running Divinity, and then I mean, who knows?
You have
what
a guy
kind of,
running Divinity, you have a guy running Galahorn, and then everybody else is using legendary rocket
Right.
launchers that get wolf
Right.
pound
But y'all-
rounds
y'all-
because of Galahorn.
Marco, I feel your initial disappointment, but I think we're forgetting one key point from a twab before. We get into 40% on the exotic the minor damage, but remember they buffed Scavenger to coincide with exotic usage on heavy bricks. I mean Finder, excuse me. So if you use an exotic primary, you will get more. As of right now, you will get more heavy bricks to drop. The chance will increase when you use the Finder in the helmet spot.
Okay,
And
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, I've noticed
is-
it recently because I've been running a little bit more of exotic. I've been running you know what the Traveler's Light side the one since they
Chosen?
nerfed ability regeneration. I've been in my Traveler's Chosen bag because that one you get kills, you know, you consume
you
the
get-
reload and then you get the thing. And I'm like, damn, why is all these purple bricks all over the place? Because I have the Scavenger. And I'm like, oh yeah, they buffed this. So in conjunction with it, I can see a nice little synergy, going on. So I'm a little excited. But I understand initially how you felt because at first I was like, but then I remember that prior change.
Yeah, generally seems like an exciting thing, I think, just to giving a reason to use an exotic primary weapon. We need them. So if they're going to give us a benefit, I'm curious how this feels. Something like Outbreak, Glacioclasm, if you get that group explosion from, not Glacioclasm, sorry. What is the perk on Graviton Lance? Cryoclasm?
I forgot the name of
Yeah,
it.
something like that.
Some
Something like
explosion.
That one I think could be deadly.
Graviton
I mean,
could be
that
fire.
gun was overpowered for a while, but
Sunshot,
it
just
could be really
chain
good in the
crazy
ring.
big explosions.
Graviton's
yeah.
back. Sunshot's
Those-
back. Like, it's going to be disgusting.
Outbreak's gonna be
going to be
gross.
disgusting.
Cosmology. Thank you. I'm saying it wrong.
Cosmology. Yes.
Cosmology,
Thank you, chat.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, that's chat for
I
you.
can't believe people remember the name of that perk.
It's
That's crazy.
one I actually forget a lot in chat whenever I'm talking. For some reason, Graviton Lance just sucks at me remembering that one weapon, so they've had to remember it a lot.
It feels like a different game.
Yeah.
Remember back when Graviton Lance was the best weapon in the game,
Oh,
and we were
yes.
all running faction rallies? I feel like that
Yes.
wasn't Destiny 2. That feels like a different life.
Been a while.
Shout out
Bad
to
Juju
Bad
with
Juju.
Infinite.
Forgot about Juju.
Juju for that super recharge. Chaperone, the passive range buff is going to get brought back by 1.5 meters. Duality, something similar, but the damage buff no longer clears on reload. Teraba is going to have its perk half cleared when you switch weapons, because previously people would get the charge up and then switch and lose the benefit. Now you only have to get half of that back, so if you do have to switch weapons, it's a little bit better. They also increase the Ravenous Beast duration and increases for damaging a player slightly. Ruinous Effigy is going to have its nerf undone, so the big sphere is better. I still don't know why they did that, and apparently they don't know either. Lumina is going to get brought up into a little more of a 140 hand cannon, better range, better stability. Thorn is not getting touched, just Lumina getting a little better use. Agar's Scepter, that whole empowerment perk is going to get reworked. It sounds like the super should drain more slowly while empowered. I use that thing and it still just melts. Like Agar's Scepter for ad clear, and if you dump your super into that, it does a lot of work.
It is insane for warlocks too. With that what you call it chest, that exotic chest that give you damage with uptime when you have your super at max. It's insane, bro. Like that's one of my primary stasis builds with Scepter. You could control ads like crazy. Isn't that the one where you power it up and then you can make it like a beam for boss DP? That weapon is that's one of my favorite weapons.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it a lot. Dead Man's Tale, they reduced the catalyst hip fire rate of fire. Lawrence Driver and Arbalist, they basically increased the flinch to help with the PvP overbearingness. And then Forerunner, The scavenger ammo's not as bad as they thought, so they're going to give you a little bit more. Anything with regards to exotic weapons that I kind of blew through that you guys, outside of Aggers, but anything you guys find yay, nay, exciting?
It's all good.
I finally need to get a Terror buff.
Yeah, I got to get mine too.
Still don't have that one.
I got
don't
mine.
have it.
I thought I was going to be able to buy it from the exotic kiosk, but you still need...
Can't you?
You can, but you need some other currency as well. Like you need to play like the raid currency. What is it called again?
Spoils.
Spoils of
Spoils. I
Conquest.
just didn't have
something.
enough, so I guess it's finally time.
Time to start raiding.
And then we've got legendary weapons. Those are going to be... I'm trying to copy some timestamps here, ish. Legendary weapons, I'm not going to go into all the nuance because this is some nitty gritty. Basically, a lot of hand cannons from 140s and 150s were all smashed together. They're normalizing a lot of them. And aim assist is going down for most of them. A couple stats are mostly going up. The Ikelos SMG just got punched in the face outside of a smidge of zoom. And then Fellwinter's Lie has a bigger spread angle on its pellet spread.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's a good thing, right?
Yeah,
It was obnoxious. It's
obnoxious, so it's a little less.
I'm sad about Ikelos SMG though. That was my baby. The 750. Then you had the Warmind capabilities with that. The cell
less range, less stability, less handling,
came back to the game
less
a week ago, and that is still the build I came back to with a horde and a sword. I know it's not meta anymore, but it still feels good. So
Oh yeah. I love 750 SMGs.
I'm happy that some of the aim assist is going down though. Will make the PvP a little more meaningful.
Yeah.
Between hand cannon fights. So
Yes.
That's a good thing.
Then we get into perks. This is kind of the next big section. Again, I got to go fast time-wise. If you guys have any ones that you want me to stop on, let me know. They're allowing you to build into hip fire more easily. So they're basically saying the fall-off distance for range on hip fire, except shotgun, snipers, and fusions, is going to be 20% farther. So if you're hip firing, it's not quite as bad against you. Adagio's getting a little bit of a buff. The duration's a little longer. The damage bonus, except bows and fusions, I wish it stayed on bows, is up to 30%, adds 10% to range, and also they added a timer to the buff so you can see while it's going on. I wanted to ask chat, because I asked other people, do you guys care about dual loader? Put 2 shotgun shells in a shotgun at the same time, but usually the reload is slow.
Yeah, it seems like it changes nothing.
Yeah.
It might be like half a second faster. I don't really know.
I feel like I'd prefer like the perks like reconstruction or what is it called? Something like that.
Yeah, reconstruction, reconstitution, that type
all
of
that stuff.
Anyway, they're reducing the reload stat penalty on dual loader from minus 50 to minus 35. And I'm just like, okay. I don't know of anyone who uses that. That's why I was wondering.
It's
New
okay.
Red is the only one I have seen who's like, that perk is clutch. I'm like, if you're using, but yeah, most people I think are kind of like, okay, New Rad's is going to stay on his island. That's totally fine. Danger Zone, it felt pretty risky. It says in some cases. I never want a grenade launcher with Danger Zone because you're like, why am I going to fire a grenade close to me? Well, they said they reduced the self-damage scaler.
Because you're cool. Because you're a Titan.
I mean, it just doesn't seem smart. It's risky in anything high level, so there's no reason for me to build into it. Combined with other scalars, this ends up self-damage from 1.25x to 0.75x. Basically, you just won't hurt yourself quite as bad. I still don't. All right, so my 2 regulars in chat love dual loader. You two have fun.
They go
you two have fun. Now,
Yeah.
to no surprise on the next one, if you saw the trials report recently, Tap the Trigger is a meta-breaking perk on fusion rifles. So they're changing up what it does from the stability from plus 40 to plus 10. They also changed the max recoil angel, and this is only fusion rifles. This is basically to fix main ingredient from being a beast. Changes max recoil angle almost twice as much. They changed the error angle. This is all nuances, but it doesn't affect anything else. Basically, this, because they've taken it off a lot of fusions, and they said due to these changes, they may put it back on fusions in the future, but they're making it to where it's just not the one and only fusion rifle. If you didn't get the Zur roll, I'm sorry, but people have been melting you with that one, and it's like the one roll, so it became egregious enough they had to do something about it. Head Seeker doesn't work on aggressive pulse rifles because it's actually too slow of a weapon, so they made it to where that actually functions. I thought that was funny.
That needed to be fixed.
Yes.
Eager's Edge. To no surprise, they're going to make the lunge distance The benefit, they're going to reduce that by about 25% and also caps the velocity. And the main reason they stated this clearly in bold, we have a fresh raid and other fun content coming with the Witch Queen, and we want to ensure we retain the challenge behind our upcoming rewards. They don't want people to Eager's Edge fly all the way across the map to beat a boss, like an encounter.
Looking at you, Wilhelm scream.
You glitchers ruined my Halo sword.
Wait, wasn't that the whole point though, of them introducing that sword to bring back like sword flying? So why did it take it away now? Like what?
Because people were using it to jump in the air and go super fast by using the lunge, and then getting through like levels and stuff, and they don't want people to cheese the raid.
But they introduced that perk just for people to jump into the air and go super fast. Like that was the whole point of that perk.
Yes,
speedrunners are not happy right now.
That would hurt.
They
the
really
game,
can't make up their mind. Like what was that other sword called that got nerfed? That was used to be used for speedruns as well. The
World Line
Skate, yes. So they nerfed that and now brought that back this sword, and now they nerfed this again. So what did they want?
Bungie has never made up their mind about any of this stuff. Sunsetting good, sunsetting bad. We want to be independent. We want to work with huge companies.
What have I done? What have I done?
Brought it back.
We're not going back. We're not going back. We're going forward. We're going forward. They also said they're shelving a few perks. Bottomless Grief and Celerity are both going away from like Nightfalls and Celerity. Basically, that's going to turn into a trait. So now you're not giving up that perk slot, which is a good thing. You're going to get some of those benefits from the origin traits. Underdog, which I don't think anybody uses. Shield Disorient, and I don't think anybody builds into that. And Air Assault, that one I don't think I've seen in a while. I remember it, and I was like, why? And I haven't seen that in a while, but it's officially being shelved.
Rest in peace, Celerity, forever.
Any perk dieharders out there that you guys are happy or sad to see? I mean, Tap the Trigger, I think, is just going to make the PvP meta happy. That's probably the biggest one that I know of.
Thank God.
Because that main ingredient is something else.
What is that? Like, I missed that whole part. That's like something recent, the fusion rifle stuff?
Tap the Trigger adds stability on when you start firing. Well, fusions always function that way. And main ingredient's a mid-level fusion rifle, so it's got that decent damage. And now the Xur basically sold one with like Tap the Trigger. I don't know if it was opening shot, range. It was the perfect roll with Tap the Trigger. So people, if they bought it at Xur, it's mapping people. It's not quite as bad as Aaron Till, but it's close, which was another fusion rifle that kind of broke things too far. Ooh. So it's the one weapon right now that has that perk combination, and then Xur sold it and made a fusion rifle topped the most kills in trials last weekend.
Damn. Right, okay. So it's just a combination of a couple of perks and stats. Nothing's actually not working as intended. It's just that
it's working a bit too well.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, got you.
Yeah, it's a perk combination that's on an older weapon. But you haven't been able to get it in a while, but yeah, it's that one-off happened from Xur. They even talked about Squid Face.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I'm excited for using pulses in PvE again. I felt pulses just didn't have a good place. Whoa. And I know you, it's good. Talk your dad by gun, talk that go figure talk.
Why is a pulse rifle a dat? You would, at least it's not an auto rifle. At least it's not an auto rifle.
No, I agree.
Right?
I agree.
And I can't, and they even took out the archetype of Go Figure and Blast Furnace. They don't, that's not in the game anymore. They don't even make exist.
Them. Yeah. Was it the 4 burst?
Mm-hmm. That was my favorite.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because I got like a couple of legal actions on standby. I want to use aggressive pulses again, cold denial and all that stuff. And, I just felt they just weren't in a good place. I would just take a 600. I would even prefer using an SMG over a pulse. Like, it just wasn't, it didn't feel good. Yeah. So the 40% for me is going to feel good. And then also, exotics. Like, this is going to change the game, like the way we play. And if that synergy with the miners combined with the heavy ammo, it should be substantial, so that we don't always crutch on the highest DPS exotic heavies all the time. So we'll see how it plays out.
I actually remember trying to farm a perfectly rolled right side of wrong by doing a lost sector on Mars over and over again, because I thought that was going to be a necessary weapon to have for the day one Garden of Salvation. And that is probably the most time I ever spent farming a weapon, and I never got a good roll. But I have 4 good go figures, but they weren't elemental damage, right? Yeah. Like they were kinetic. And so you needed the elemental as well for the raid, I guess. because she needed a
Yeah.
good. But then Pulses ended up being pretty bad in that era, so I did it all for nothing anyway. And now I think it's sunset. So
Yep.
so now I can't like
All
like I
that
never got to
time.
all that time just wasted.
Yep.
Very
For the
true.
new future, they do, and this will excite most of this crew, for season 17, so the season that launches after Witch Queen. Don't know the length of the season. Everybody assumes it'll be about 3 months. In season 17, we'll have a set of PvP-focused weapon changes, including... They're like, I'm sorry, excuse me?
Excuse me? Is that in the game?
New
Is
ways
that-
for players to build for flinch resistance, balance tuning for primary weapons looking and shoot pulse rifles, lightweight in particular, balance weapon tuning, snapshot feeling mandatory on sniper rifles in PvP, other balance changes. Another PvP special ammo economy change. That is something they mentioned. Basically, PvP, you're only going to drop 1 ammo from your brick. And then scavengers might be 2 if you are on scavenger, but you're not going to be able to run around and pick up 3. And they're trying to help the special ammo economy not just snowball quite as much. They also said adjusting how zoom outliers, picture like the multi-mock, if you get the right scope on it, that thing can basically work like an auto rifle. So they're going to probably normalize some of those is what it sounds like. And also we're adjusting several much requested exotics along with legendary perks. So more exotic adjustments coming with season
So
17.
flinch resistance and like easier to land shots on low zoom snipers because more aim assist.
Yep.
Gonna be interesting how that works out.
Yeah, that sounds a little scary. I mean, well, for me though, on the other side, it's like building into flinch resistance. I hope that means you actually can flinch someone if they don't build into it. Because there are things right now, if you can sit there and hit somebody 3 times and there's still someone able to hit that one-off headshot, it seems a little not right. So I would be happy if you have to
usually feel
lean
cheated.
into it. Yeah, I'd be happy if you have to lean into flinch resistance, but flinch is higher if you don't.
Right.
What if there's certain mods on armor and they take up the spot of the scavenger mods, and so you can build into flinch resistance, but then you can't build like have as much sniper ammo on the.
See, that makes
Maybe
perfect
started.
sense. Look at Marco just calling a shot right there.
Marco, don't get Ebontis started on armor. He loves the stuff you're talking about right now. He loves that.
Trust
he
me,
wants you to bring your division armor energy into it.
Lightfall, I want like armor crafting 3.0. Like Lightfall, because it's not happening right now. But yeah, my hope is for something cool in armor later on.
Yeah, actually make builds matter, and then have loadouts to.
No.
Yes, please.
Loadouts, set bonuses. We got teased with that one time.
Gambit
Prime.
Prime.
Gambit Prime. Yeah, so no, I miss set bonuses. That's what I was like from Division. That's one of the things that I miss, the set bonuses. In just any game with set bonuses, even Diablo, hell.
Yes.
The final thing is the downtime. Before Witch Queen launches, you have 14 hours of server downtime. It's going to be down from 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. Pacific until 9 a.m. Pacific
it's going
the
to
next
be
day.
more than 14 hours if Beyond Light is any indication of how this is going to go. We're going to be sitting in the menus for hours after the launch.
Yeah, I'm honestly, I can't decide because I know I need a raid. I'm going to do a day 1 raid. I know I'm going to stream. I know of that content, but also I'm like, do I just set my alarm like an hour or 2 later if I can like push my sleep that far? Because the servers are going to suck. There are 1 million pre-orders for Witch Queen. If half of those people try and log in on day 1, you may as well just shut it down.
Yeah, no, I think I'm just going to play on day 2. I'm not in a rush. Yep. I'm not looking to
take,
that's honestly
you take the day after off.
Yes, take the Wednesday off.
Yeah.
Like I'm not.
I think half of those 1 million copies are DJ Oro spying the game. So yeah, he can only log on once, so we should be good.
Killing this boy. No, I mean, Trav's right though. It says that this ain't our first rodeo. We know the vibe. That first day, they're gonna get killed with the servers. I'm gonna wait for the dust to settle, come in either later on that night or the next day, and then really go at it, kind of thing. But people get prepared for the queue numbers. You're number 10,000 in line.
I'd be lucky if you're that low.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. But yeah, I agree.
Heads up to all your Sony PlayStation copy files. The preload for Witch Queen is planned to become available on all platforms at 9 p.m. Pacific. So that's midnight Eastern time, depending on where you're at in the world. If you got to set your alarm, get up, start the download, and then go back to sleep, whatever you got to do, you have 12 hours to download the update. Servers will be down for a while, but you'll have 12 hours to download the update. Servers are going to be down. That being said, Iron Banner is the final week. Don't think you can play Iron Banner until the wee hours of the morning and sleep. Game's going to be off. So plan ahead for that final week. Get your stuff done beforehand as they're going to have their extended downtime. Other than that, they've kind of covered everything else. They said, like Shattered Realm is on a daily rotation. If you need to do those, you can do them on a daily rotation. There are certain weapons cycling out of the ritual rewards pool. We've covered most of this stuff before. And the final 2 TWABs that we've basically got left are going to be Void 3.0, which is still going to be probably big until we get our hands on it. It's mostly going to be reworking, but we'll see. And then also whatever this Gambit rework is. So with regards...
Gambit?
Yeah, Gambit.
Gambit?
Somehow.
All I want
This is what you're focusing on, Bungie? Gambit?
What if it's lit? No, it'd be funny, right?
I'm just hoping for a mobile bubble with Void 3.0. That's what I'm looking for right here.
Ooh, you want the ball? Okay.
I'm hoping that the Gambit update is just the shortest TWAB we've ever gotten, and you open it and it just says we've
it's
deleted
gone.
Gambit.
Yeah.
We've removed Gambit from the game, and that's the whole update.
After careful consideration, our data has shown that no one's playing the most.
Yeah, it's like you don't need data for that one, sadly. But as
pulling
we
for the
kind of
Gambit
like, as
return.
you guys are now seeing a lot of these changes that they're making, where do you guys feel? I mean, we don't have Void 3.0 and Gambit. We'll see how that goes. But I mean, Void, we kind of know that's going to be a rework, a little more customization of the subclass. But this is one of the biggest substantial changes that's coming. As we kind of wrap up, where's your hype level at this point? We're a couple weeks out. We got 2 more TWABs left to go, a couple more podcasts before we get going. Where are you guys at with regards to Witch Queen? Is there any big thing that you're worried about? Is there any big thing you still got to see, or are you just like hype train full speed ahead?
I'm really just hoping that they can change up the formula enough from the past DLCs to where it's actually interesting enough, and I can see past. Oh, we're doing the story now. Okay, now we're doing the light level, and now we're doing the raid, and that's it, right? Like I hope there's a little more to it, because I felt that even with Beyond Light, and I haven't even played all the expansions. I haven't been a Destiny 2 player for that long, not as long as you guys.
Mhm.
And I feel that everything they've put out every year has been extremely formulaic.
Yeah.
So I'm just hoping that they can change up the formula enough. Of course, still keep it Destiny, but give me something I haven't seen yet, even while doing the story, and keep me engaged that way. But that's sort of a hopes. I don't really know. I'm not super hyped. I'm just going to wait and see what they can bring me this year.
Travis?
Yeah, I'll jump. Oh, straight Trav.
I'm somewhat hyped. I mean, to me, it is work. I'm going to be reviewing Witch Queen, so I'm sort of bracing for the coming grind and getting it done. But I love Destiny. I've been playing it for 7 years and reviewing it that whole time, so it's always like a staple in my life when this comes around, and everyone who knows me in my personal life hates me or just doesn't hear from me for a while after new content comes out. That said, I don't think Bungie's done a great job at building hype so far. I feel like they kind of let a little too much go early, and a lot of that hype has died down. And then the fact that there's absolutely no story happening in the game, and we're 2 weeks out, they haven't finished Season of the Lost or anything like that, I also feels like really bad. So maybe these next 2 weeks they have a whole bunch of stuff that we don't know about yet that's going to rebuild hype. But I feel like the train kind of slowed down in terms of the hype that they were building. If they were still doing monologues from Savathûn now, if they had moved all that stuff over, can you imagine how crazy the hype would be right now? But I feel like that's in the ancient history as far as everybody else is concerned. So
I actually played that last week. So for me,
what's that?
It's
I
fresh.
actually
Yeah,
played
that's perfect.
Yeah.
Honestly,
So-
you have the ideal situation because we can't even really remember. Savathûn got put in a
Well,
storage.
I also
locker.
had the
She's in an
dialogue
ice chest
disabled.
somewhere.
So I also had the dialogue disabled. So there's that. But I actually did that last week to get back in it. So for me, it works out perfectly that way.
That's great. Yeah, no, I feel like if that were happening now for like most players, the hype would be a lot higher. But I do feel like it's a little bit lower. We'll see what comes the next 2 weeks. But obviously, I'm stoked that I'm going to be playing a whole lot of Destiny. And I'm really glad I got done with all of my Destiny stuff and kind of get to take this month break from everything. I got the seal, by the way, for
Nice.
Dares of Eternity 30th
Nice.
anniversary Vidmaster. I think it is. So my
I
first
still have
seal
to
in a
buy
while
that.
because usually I don't go for them.
Yeah. Which I mean, it does I think Tassie said this online that it feels different. I feel like Bungie is still holding on to something because it doesn't feel like the normal hype cycle for the biggest expansion, that they got going. I mean, we're getting content, but we get a lot of stuff early. So it's like if you're giving us all of this early, my hope is they're still holding on to some key things. Maybe I'm optimistic there. So
what do you think it might be? I have a theory, and it's totally a wrong theory. Like, I'm completely incorrect, but I have a theory. I have a theory that the poison element is in this DLC, and they just haven't told us.
Yeah,
that's my theory.
I it's like it almost feels like that new subclass / class energy because.
Way.
It's weird.
I know. I'm with you. No way, but that's just what I feel. I don't know what it is.
I feel like they're holding on to something. Because like normally, the old cadence, we'd get a stuff like this a little close. This would be like the week before going in, like we're getting this. So it's like we're getting this now. And let's be honest, Gambit ain't big enough to be, like for them to say, yo, we still get. So it's like you got more. And I don't want to get too excited. I know I'm gonna let you go, Marco. It feels a little different. So part of me feels that there is a big secret that they don't want to reveal yet. And they're going to wait until the story that you're catching up on now with Savathun, that you have the text and things muted. But the story that, once it now concludes and then we get to the moment how Savathun gets into power, yada, yada, yada. Then they go, ha. And then maybe we go, whoa, because I'm still waiting for that yo moment. I don't feel I've had it yet, which is weird for Witch Queen, but that's how I feel. But Marco and then E, and Marco wanted to say something.
No, I don't think that's gonna happen. I think that wow moment is gonna be the raid. Like they might have like a special mission in it or something like that, but I just don't see it happening. I feel like what they've shown so far is already like a pretty good expansion, like a good size, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you that they usually tell us everything and then we're just not really surprised. Like I feel like they did that with Beyond Light a lot and it worked against them. But I always have that glimmer of hope that there's like the Dreaming City, that we didn't know about, some location we don't know about.
So the Dreaming City was completely unknown.
Maybe the raid finally introduces the darkness as an enemy type or something like that. Like I'm hoping that's like the kid in me, but like the reviewer who knows how the industry works is like, no way. Like they would have shown us that for sure if it was in the game. So.
But so one last question I have: the Dreaming City was completely unknown to anybody before people.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, that was a huge.
So they quote unquote leaked or revealed that Kate was going to die, and everybody was like, "Oh, that's crazy!" And then they used that as a red herring.
They did a lot of misdirection.
Yeah,
they did
exactly.
some misdirection,
and then that's the first thing that happened in the season, and then they had to that's a really cool way to do it.
And I did an on-site review for that game. I went to Bungie HQ and got to play it like, a couple weeks before it was out. And they didn't even show us the Dreaming City.
Right.
That's how crazy it was. Like I had beaten the campaign and still not seen the Dreaming City.
Right.
So yeah, they do some stuff. They're not afraid to surprise people.
I'm curious what E thinks.
I mean, for me, I kept saying, when's the story going to finally end? February 8th is still holding very accurate at this point. So sadly, the Lunar New Year and the astral alignment in real life didn't quite tie in, which would have kind of been cool, but I get it. 2 weeks before to have the Savathun, if it's not on the 8th, it's going to be like when servers go down like the day before, which I still don't expect they would really do a live event. So I expect the story next week, and I'm wondering if when the story drops, when you get done, if all of a sudden they say, hey, there's now this countdown for a video on Bungie on YouTube that's going to go live, that's either a Vidoc or a YouTube video. That's where I expect, as you said, like the hype's kind of been these little 20-second teasers everywhere. Like, here's a little story, here's a little story, here's this person talking, here's this person talking. We haven't finished the last story. She hasn't come out of her chrysalis. We haven't had that moment that pushes us to Witch Queen, and we're basically 2 weeks away. So I feel like Tuesday's got to be that moment, because I don't think they would do it at the same time Iron Banner's there, which would just seem weird. So you're going to have hopefully that moment. And then I've got to assume a little deeper trailer, or maybe a Vidoc if they want to give a little more behind the scenes. I don't know if it's too close for a Vidoc, but maybe they could do something like that. That's what I would hope at this point. If they don't do that, then I think they really have just chosen to keep their cards close to their chest. Because normally, if it's not if it's not Tuesday, they're just keeping the secrets this time, is my assumption. I'm excited though, because the campaign sounds like they're going to have They're talking about more of their unique missions and the exotic missions. They're talking about how campaign is going to have more of that feel, more I think the campaign is going to be something special. And if they can connect it to the raid, and if Savathun doesn't die, two big ifs, but if they can do those two and have unique mechanics and fun story missions and almost feeling like some of our one-off exotic missions that we've had, if they can do that, and as you guys have said, if there's some cool surprises we don't know about, I think it is going to be some of the same as Marco's worried about, because the power leveling seems to generally be soft cap, power cap, hard cap. All of those seem to be there, which is unfortunate because I would like to see some shifting there, but it doesn't seem to happen. But it does seem with weapon crafting, we're going to have different pursuits. With just spending more time with these weapons, we may still hate strikes doing it, which is unfortunate. But again, some happiness, some that we already probably expect to be about the same. I'm just hoping, kind of like you, Cog, if we don't know as much as we do now and we're waiting on Void 3.0, which we have the subclass, just going to work a little differently, and Gambit, what do we not know?
Yeah.
So I'm with you.
It's a fun... I'm sorry.
No, it's like I'm with you on that one.
No, it's a fun time. I will say this, though. The excitement for me right now, and I think Marco appreciates it, is just that, you know, as much as it is the ritual, the routine, sometimes we roll our eyes, all right, the power level grind, we know. There is that fun. There's something about World First Destiny Raid Unknown and just not, just getting the hype train going. You get your raid team together, and you just attack that thing. And I'm looking forward to that. I want to know what
that is the main reason that I want to play the DLC as well. It's just for that raid. Just it's going to be like 10 hours and it's going to be like the craziest thing ever.
Yes.
And that's why I play Destiny. Like that is the biggest reason, basically. I don't really care about getting all the god rolls, my whole vault. I've got like fucking blue stuff in my vault still. Because I just put it in there when I started playing the game and I never cared enough to take it out. Right? It's just like that is the reason I play Destiny. That's why I grind to gear. I every year I get my gear, my build specifically for the raid, and then the rest of the year it just kind of like drops off because I have no reason to get a build anymore, right? So it's that is the reason to play.
Yeah, that's always been my hook. That's what kept me in Destiny as well. From the Vault of Glass days to now. And it's just that unknown and looking at, okay, where's Trav and his team? Where they at in the encounter? Or where did they learn? Oh, damn, they ahead of us. They figured those plates out. All right. It's just that game within the game. And then let's be honest, there's the joy, even though, when you see, I've never been one for, but like when you see a team do it, and that genuine joy of them being world first. Like I remember Last Wish, I forgot that team's name. And I was like,
that was the team.
Yeah. They felt it. Like you seen it. It's something you see Bungie get behind
like 18 hours, right? Like 18 hours. And then Data came in second with just after. Yeah,
2402. The meme will live forever. Nope.
Yeah. It's so cool. And then you see Bungie get behind. You see them in the studios watching all the TV. It's a thing, man. It's an event. I still feel no game. I still stand on my square. In console, it's still probably the best cooperative activity I've ever played for me. That gives me the most joy. That's why I still love Raid. It's the best content they make, and I think more people need to
Which Last Word host is going to beat the Raid first?
You.
Ooh.
You, by
no confidence. Come on, E. What do you think?
Oh, E got them all-stars. That's right.
I mean, I got a good group, but honestly, I'm happy of who I'm with, especially like I heard Cool Guy talking on firing range. He wants to make sure, get up, walk around every hour, have your food. I'm in for the time investment to get the day one. And again, we're trying to be like, hey, try the encounter a little bit blind, get a feel for it. But if we go see what other people are doing, then it's like, hey, if we get stuck, check out, go look at other strats. I'm not trying to go totally blind. We're trying to finish it, but in a healthy way. So I think...
Got it. I'm trying to fall on the sword and just kill myself beating the raid.
There you go.
That's my goal.
That's why I'm not going to say me, because I think we're trying to healthily get the day one finish, not the day, not race.
Slow and steady though. We might do it.
I mean,
if you pace yourself, sometimes that's the way to go.
I was like, I think
every time we have a day one raid, it's been super unhealthy. It's just a non-stop caffeine grind until just non-stop.
Yep. Well, as we are getting tight on time, especially for COG. I do want to wrap this up, but first I want to say, Marco, thank you for joining us this morning. I know Travis had to get up early, but you are the guest coming from very far away, so we thank you for joining us. this morning.
Hey, man, it was all fun.
Glad
No
you
worries.
glad you enjoyed it. At this point, this is kind of the time for you to tell anybody who hears this and all the places that they're going to hear it, where to find you, where to find your content, what type of content you do, just any and all that stuff, just where they can look you up and be like, all right, that guy sounded like he had something to listen to. Where do we find him?
I mean, I guess you could look at my YouTube, some of my Destiny videos, but I haven't really posted anything Destiny for a long time now.
What are you working on?
Like,
What are you posting?
Yeah.
it's you can probably find me on YouTube or Twitter somewhere, but I'm not super active at the moment, so this is not we don't need to do the whole shout out thing right now. Just maybe.
What are you playing then? If you're not playing Destiny, what game? What are you into?
So right now, I'm not really playing too much. I've actually, like the last 2 months, I've been working on a video that.
Oh, you're living real life. Okay, yeah, that's boring. Go
I've actually been editing for like 10 hours a day straight on average.
Oh, gotcha.
And then in the weekends, doing something like maybe playing a little bit of this or a little bit of that, but nothing serious. It's just been like I've been trying to experiment with my content a lot, and so I've been doing that instead of playing video games.
Got it.
Well, hey, look at you being an adult. Way to be.
Yeah,
way to
he's
adult.
becoming a DJ, guys. It's his act 2.
Well, the funny thing is, I also enjoy it more than just playing. So it's like I get to be creative instead of just grinding out strikes. So I feel like that's more enjoyable for me.
It's good to mix it up.
I'll never grind out.
Keeps it healthy.
You can't make me.
Salute to MarcoStyle, man. Absolute legend. You know, I'm so happy that you were able to come on. When he told me that you're coming on, I was like fanboy, and I was like, oh man, like this is my dude. Like I used to watch your videos, brother, like and consistently, and you know your analytical approach, you know, to Division, and I always felt, you know, Destiny could learn so much from them. As much as the Division fanboys and me would go at it, we throw our little jabs at each other, but it was fun, and we really appreciated that. And then to see, I remember when you started playing Destiny, I'm like, what is this? Like, I couldn't believe it. Then you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna stick with it, and then you kind of stuck with it, and then you did your first raid, and I was like, oh, he's got the fever now, and I started to see the transformation. But I love what you said in reference to taking a step back and enjoying something because you want to do it. And that doesn't necessarily coincide with financial stuff all the time, right? But if you're not happy, to me, I'm always about the content creator's overall health and his happiness. And if that's what giving you joy, by all means, do what you got to do. You're a legend out here. Good to have you. We got to get you back one time. But yeah, man, this is fun and a lot of stuff to talk about. But yeah, man, with me, you already know. Lord Cognito on Twitter, Iron Lords Podcast on YouTube, Defining Duke. Check us out.
You want to hit that super chat, by the way, since it seems like it's directed.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Let's get it. Let's get it. It's all man, DJ?
DJ Oros. Hey guys.
I got to get on. Yeah, can I read this one?
Because
it's directed at me.
Oh.
David James Oros of the Pennsylvania area, I believe, for a $5 super chat says, "Hey guys, longtime listener and fan. Just wanted to say thanks for the entertaining Friday morning. Most of your views are great. Keep up the toxicity."
That's a shot.
We all know who he's subtweeting at. You know, David, you should probably listen to the early part of the podcast, and Pete Parsons will be over tomorrow morning for your wake-up call. So, good times. I guess I'll do my stuff now. You can read my review of Dying Light 2. I played about 100 hours of that game the past couple weeks. I gave it a 7 out of 10, spoiler alert. I liked it a lot, but it's got a lot of bugs that you're probably going to have to go through.
Oh, wait, I watched that review.
Nice.
I did.
That's our guy.
Cool.
IGN's own.
You're
the
welcome.
one on the IGN page. Yeah, I watched that review
right,
a couple days ago. I think 1 day ago, yesterday, 2 days. Yeah, here.
Thank you.
Yeah, I did. I saw that.
That was my review. That's my voice on that on that video.
I didn't know up until now.
He's kind of famous.
I'm not famous, but my reviews are. I'll post on Twitter
he's not
and
famous,
4
he's
people will like
infamous.
it, and then I'll do an IGN review and it'll get like 15 million views. I'm like, all right, people know my reviews and not me. So you can find me on Twitter at TyGuyTravis. This Sunday I'm doing a Bitcast episode where we're talking about lots of stuff. We also have a new host on that show. Richard Hogue of Hogue Law is going to be joining us on as a permanent member. So we are certainly going to talk about the Bungie acquisition and stuff. If you want to hear me yet again get on my soapbox and diatribe about that. And then just Go to IGN.com, read my stuff. I got a preview of a game I can't talk about that will come out on February 10th, and then I'm reviewing Crossfire X and Destiny: The Witch Queen this month. So get ready for those. And yeah, you shot me into Finding Duke.
Nice.
Anyway, go.
Oh, bro, I get you. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And we'll get E in there too. Don't worry about it. I got both of you.
Yeah. Double feature.
Yeah. I
Maybe
again just want to say thank you to Marco for coming out, for Travis for waking up, Cog for fitting us into your morning, and for everybody in chat. All of you guys have been amazing this morning. Thank you guys. Chat was absolutely on fire and hilarious. Always keeps us entertained and going. And whether you would listen to this on audio, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, if you'll drop us a review, those are always helpful. If you find us on YouTube, whether it's on my channel or Iron Lord's podcast channel, please subscribe, like, follow, all the good things there, and follow all of these amazing creators. I mean, Travis, Cognito, MarcoStyle, entertainment, hot takes, and telling you what you need to hear. You got a great group here. So I just want to say thank you all for being here this morning. It's been an early morning, but it's been a hilarious, and definitely we woke up early to get this podcast started. So we
thank you for basically reading the whole swap for me.
That is why we are here, sir. We let our guests know the information they would rather not have to read through, so we do it for you. No, but seriously, thank you for joining us. It was absolutely our pleasure. But that is where we're going to wrap up this episode. So chat, you guys have been awesome. Guests, of course, thank you. And hosts, of course. We can't do this without all of you guys here. And of course, all of the viewers. Again, thank you very much. But for episode number 183, we are creeping close to 200. We're going to wrap this thing up. So as we do, we're going to do it the way we always do. For episode 183, it has been...
Oh, shit, I forgot what to say.
The last word.
The last word. Oh, shit.
I forgot what to say.
Last word. This has been the last word.
I remembered to Google Doc. I was like, oh, there was a line I was supposed to say at the end, but it was. Can we just keep it like this? I feel like this is perfect.
This is how we end it. So perfect. All right, everybody. We'll see you soon.